Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever in the world you may be. I'm Wes, and alongside me today is.
Hi, I'm Max, better known as Light Pink Yoshi, and we are bringing to you some Ricci Nomi League action here on this nice Friday evening.
Today we have the Brooklyn Sours, the Peregrine Falcons, Team Yakumen, and the. Who is the last team I'm missing? The Emperor Penguins.
Yeah, the Penguins.
This is a match for pretty much the top half of the table. The Yakumen have made it back up into fourth place after a lovely display last week from Kevin. Uh, but it's the Brooklyn Sours, the Peregrine Falcons, and Team Yakuman all taking up second, third, and fourth place respectively.
Yeah,
But it
definitely
looks like,
eyes on Brooklyn Sours and the Peregrine FalKANs, looking to catch up with the Queen's Mahjong Triad, who's currently just dominating the field. They have double up of the second place team, and in a league where only first place matters, that's what they're aiming for.
yeah, and it looks like our players are pretty ready to go. Hands are all drawn. I think waiting for the go signal. Let's head down to the feature match area and
Yep.
get on our
Players.
way.
Yep. Players tonight are going to be Pio representing the Emperor Penguins, Calvin representing the Brooklyn Sours, Andreas Stocksel representing the Peregrine Falcons, and Honver representing Team Yakumen. We are right into the game. Looks like we're starting off with an 8 Sodora with Pio as the first dealer.
It was a nice shape with the 8-so and 2-6-so and a pair of Haku.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's immediately going to palm this 9-pin. Go for the. He's got maybe some designs on Toy Toy, but probably just looking for the Haku and the Dora one.
just
On his
in the
right,
dealership.
yep, on his right, Calvin in the south seat. Actually, I believe maybe Chito Ishanten already, but also may look to make that hand a little bit more expensive because it looks like it could be very explosive in the Pinzu shape, in the Pinzu suit.
Meanwhile, Hanper's hand sitting in the west seat, kind of looking a little bit lackluster. Uh, Not really much to say. The Manzu seem kind of strong a little bit, but other than that,
Yeah,
oh, just completed a 1-2-3 run. But
yeah,
other than that,
does have one of those. Does have one of those Hatsu that Calvin would be looking for, and then Andreas's hand in the north seat will be our last dealer tonight. Has some really nice shapes. None of them have really quite finished yet, and would be looking to find a pair. But chances at a 3-4-5 Sanshoku, except has a Dora, lots of things that could go on there. He's looking to fill in anything. SPO does pull that Haku and gets to an icy Shanten very quickly.
I know we're kind of moving really fast because Pio is going really fast, but whose hand did you, at the beginning of this, really favor?
I think whenever you're dealer and you have a Yakuhai, you kind of just feel that you can feel that sort of speed where you can just call whatever you want because they kind of have to respect you, even if you call the 9-pin first, like Pio did. I'm interested actually, because on my screen it looks like that 9-pin came from Holmberg, who maybe discarded before sorting his hand then because he's sitting there with a 7-8 pin shape that's been there for a while. Maybe a rare miss there. But either way, Pio's grateful for it. Sitting Ishanten. And there's going to be the Hatsu. Yeah, I imagine that'll be palmed by Calvin. Well, going for this Honitsu, potential for Toy Toy, and had that last tile you can't see right now is a Dora, just in case he gets something around it. So two really nice Ishantens, but for Pio and for Calvin so far, and the other players are just trying to catch up.
Yeah, uh, Hunter's definitely been holding, just getting rid of the safe tells that he knows has passed through Pio.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's not really much use in trying to play out a hand like this once players open this aggressively. You don't have Dora, you don't have red fives, and your hand is nowhere near completion. So, best to just lose as few points as possible. Hope that someone else deals in, or that the inevitable sumo is cheap. Does refill on that 9-pin though, so maybe can try to make something happen, but more than likely just gonna be a fold. Andreas just filled in the 5-mon, now Ryanshan 10 for a potential 3-4-5 Sanshoku. Could go for Dora Tanki even if you wanted to open that. Would be a really nice Tanyao Sanshoku Dora 3 hand. Nice Mangan.
Io does draw another 8-pin and electing to cut
Oh,
the 2-3 mon shape.
yeah, decides he does not want the Tempai at the cost of cutting the Dora, which, ooh, interesting, interesting here for Calvin. Is Tempai, if he wants it, would have had to play out the 5-pin. Maybe he didn't quite see it. Looking for the Toy for as much value as possible. But now looks like all the Dora have been drawn, so Pio's dreams of using that Dora are now reliant on a 7-so, which will leave him on an awkward wait, to say the least.
Would you prefer it if Calvin did go for Tenpai just against a really fast player?
I think with 2 Dora, you might as well. That would have been the win, but he would have been waiting 2-pin and 8-so. And with the dealer showing 2 calls, like, you can't really, I don't know, 4 and 6-pin just seem like very difficult tiles to palm to me.
I agree.
But it's worked out for him, and now he is all of a sudden Manga and Tenpai, and we'll get a Hanuman if Pio decides to cut that Dora. I imagine we won't see that Dora come out from Andreas. Looks like he actually already even played the 6 and the 7-pin just to try to lock in that Sanchoku and maybe play a little bit safer. Just not like cutting the 8-9. So yeah, because Andreas has actually found his way to a callable Shanten as well if he can find a way to cheat that 5-so from Hanver. But a 5-so does not seem like the type of tile that Hanver would be looking to cut right now. He's mostly playing defensively. Pio deciding whether or not he wants to con, sitting there with that extra Haku in his hand.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't remember Pio being much of a person to con, but
I think when you're
maybe he
dealer and
will
you're
tonight.
yeah, I think when you're dealer and you're Ishanten, you kind of can. His team is in a situation where they need quite a few points, but he's also probably a little bit worried about what's going on his right.
I mean, also you're against the Peregrine FalKANs. You
Yeah, true.
might as well assert some dominance.
Exactly. Though maybe he just respects that they have asserted dominion over that particular domain of Mahjong and knows that it will only benefit them. Alrighty. Safer switch up here for Andreas. Gets the 7-pin pair to replace. Yeah, draws. What did Pio draw? Oh, drew a 5-so. I see. Pio likes the wider Ishanten and goes for the con. What is the new door? The new door is the 4-pin. Oh, and all of a sudden Calvin's sitting on a monster. It's going to be Hatsu Toy Dora 5 for a Baimon if he manages to pull it. We do see all of the tiles, though. Unfortunately, Andreas and Hanver both have a 4-pin, and Andreas and Pio both have an 8. So this is Tenpai for Pio. So it'll have to be a deal-in if it happens, and I can't imagine either of those players will be looking to cut. Will be looking to cut Adora, especially because they're just so nicely worked into shapes. Yeah, so it looks like this Baimon is not meant to be. Pio still with pretty reasonable chances at winning. Just Hakudora 1, but a pretty nice amount of foo there with the Dora or with the Hakukan. And just being the dealer, it'll still be a nice amount of points. And he can always get the red 5-so, because I think that might be one of the only ones left. Oh, the backfire. Could have chosen the 6-9 weight if he was willing to push the 5-so, but maybe looked at Calvin's hand and was like, I'm a little bit worried about this.
I don't think the 5-so is probably going to come out of anyone's hand. I think this is
Yeah,
just going to go to exhaustive.
I think there is 1 or 2 to draw though still, correct? Maybe?
Correct. Oh,
Yep.
and he draws it.
Yeah, the red one. There it is. Alright, so that's gonna be 50 foo, I believe? Should be. So dealer 350 is a nice 3,200 points all. Pio, I think, doing his math, but yeah, this should be 3,200 points from everyone. Yeah, the con ended up working out for him. Not really for the Dora, but just for the exit for the draw it got him. Or not even the draw. The draw it got him was useless. He just got points out of it. But points are good.
Points are always good. We always want to see more points. And
Yeah.
speaking of points, there are going to be big Hamba soon, after the players sort out what the point situation is.
Yep, looks like they're still discussing it. It looks like they have come to that 3,200 all though, as we see the blue and white sticks get put on the table. They're 3 and 50, especially like as dealer sumo, is not really one of those scores that you just know off the top of your head. So good to see the table talk it out and make sure that the correct amount of points were played out. I know Pio has a reputation for making sure that he does not lose any points in that to anything of that nature. If this is Humble 1, and like you mentioned, Wes, this is going to be an additional 1,500 points in the pot. One
And
pin
the
is already...
Dora is the one pin.
Yep.
Let's try and get a look at Pio's hand if
Yeah.
as our
He's
dealer's hand.
nice improvement from Pio over the last time I commentated. His hand is actually in a straight line. So we can actually read it. No one pin Dora, but he does have the red 5 already locked into a shape, and honestly, some pretty nice looking shapes in general. Not a hand you can really open, but a hand that you can quite happily play for like Ricci Pin Fudora 1.
Yeah, the Manzu look really strong there. Calvin's hand, however, looks a lot less strong. Do you want to walk us
Yeah,
through that?
Calvin's hand is very bad. This is one of those hands where honestly, like I'd probably be torn between Sozu Honitsu and Kokoshi, so I'd just go for both. This is just that bad. It looks like he is starting to play his way towards that Sozu Honitsu, but he does draw one Pandora. How many Kokoshi Taos would he be at? He's cut 3, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in hand, so he'd be at 9 with a pair. Not great, but not the worst. To his right, Honver has 2 Dora in hand. Unfortunately, they're both kind of in the same shape, so it's hard to use both, but plenty of time with this hand. That one Mon sitting around for a potential 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. Maybe somewhere along the way. The Sozu shape quite strong. Just needs to fill in one of those Pinzu fill-ins. The hand all of a sudden looking quite nice.
And Andres looking with a really strong hand. Some nice Manzu shapes, a completed 5-6-7 Pinzu shape,
Yeah.
and 5-6-6 Sozu shape.
Yeah, it looks quite quick here. And this is the type of hand where, especially if I'm playing like in an East only game, I just want to call Tanya out and go and just leave. Like we're playing Tanya and we're going. Pio has actually drawn his way to Ishanten, by the way. Has just the 8 Mon in the Manzu acceptance, holding that floating 7, so just in case he can get an upgrade there. But Izzy Shanten and even Kanchan +1 here would be quite nice as the dealer if you can draw into Tenpai. Needing the 5-8 pin or the 8 Mon. Looking like he's gonna outspeed unless Andreas can get some quick calls or some quick tiles and drawn into his hand. That is a Chun pair though in Honver's hand. Looking and just finished his Sozu shape. So maybe could look to home the Chun, play out the 8 pin and the 8-so, and then Tanki on whichever Dora doesn't get used in that 1-3-5 pin. Just try to get as much value out of the hand as possible after paying out a little bit more than you expect to a dealer sumo. Yep, and there's going to be the palm after the Chun comes out from Andreas. Or was it from... No, it was from Calvin?
From Calvin, yeah.
Yeah, from Calvin. I'm very concerned with how those tiles are lined up.
The players really liking demonstrating what we've been saying in the booth today. First with East 1, no repeat, now during this repeat. Calvin drawing another 4-pin, having a little think about that. Maybe whether to not cut the Dora? Cuts the Dora.
Looks like the Dora does go out. His hand's slowly making its way towards something, but still just going to end up being a little bit too slow, I think. Especially now that Honver has made his way to Tenpai. Actually has Chun Dora 3 Tenpai and drew in the 1-pin. Probably the best draw he could have gotten. Pio gets Tenpai though. This is going to be, if he wants it, it's going to be waiting on 1-Mon and 7-so. If I take a quick glance, it looks like the 1-Mon is dead. I believe the 1-Mon is dead, correct? There's one in Honver's discards, and there's one in Calvin's discards. So this is just a 7-so only, but Pio is the dealer and wants to fight. I think if the 1-Mon was live, he might have been able to convince me a little bit more. Oh, but the Ricci baits out the 4-pin from Calvin, which deals into Honver's Mangan. So that's going to be 8,000 points for Chundora 3, plus the big Homba is 9,500. We see the red 10,000 stick get exchanged for the green 500 stick. Not really a fair trade if you ask me.
Not a fair trade indeed.
Yeah. Okay, that's I mean, honestly, if you're Pio, that's probably the best thing that could have happened with that Ricci, because I don't know. I know Pio's got a reputation for being greedy, but I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't wait there with multiple draws to a 5-6-7 Sanshoku. That probably would have had a better quality weight as well. Maybe he just did. Yeah, maybe he miscounted the 1-Mon, thought that was still one alive.
Yeah. That happens to all of us, especially with the lights on. Lights are kind of warm, you know. But looking at our dealer's hand, Calvin has a red 5-so. Nice Manzu shape 4, 5, 6, 7, and looking to get rid of some of those Pinzu. Seems kind of strong to start with.
Yeah, especially if he can pair up that East, it'd be a quite nice dealer hand. With the Dora one pin, like it was the Dora last hand as well.
Andrew's
But
hand, however, has 3 red dragons and 4, 4, 5 Pinzu shape, which looks pretty intimidating if you ask me.
yeah, the 3 red dragons really look quite nice, but the rest of the shapes just really aren't really inspiring very much. You've got floating 9s and penchant 1/2s. Like the 4/4/5 is nice, but it's going to be quite difficult to get this hand to play as anything valuable, unfortunately, even with the Chun in hand. But the Chun is a fantastic defensive resource, and we can always, see some cons try to make things happen. Andreas's hand to his right has that nice red 5 mon, has maybe a potential Tanya shift here. That also is a 5th pair that he's just drawn. Plays out the 3 pin, looking for this Chitoitsu, I think, but could also maybe get this as a normal hand. Say you draw like a 4-so or a 7-so or a 4-mon.
And Pio's hand has the last two of the remaining Easts that Calvin might have been waiting on, but does have a potential to pick up the Dora, which is the 1 pin yet again.
Yeah. Oh, but he just draws the East in himself and is now sitting in a pretty reasonable Ryanshan 10. Needs to fill in. He's got 3 Ryanman, and then he's just kind of got that penchant sitting there. I think Pio's hand honestly probably looks the best right now, though Calvin's hand has made a lot of progress since the last time we came to it. Now has really nice shapes. Would have to get rid of the 1 pin Dora and the East, the tiles that he'd really like. Oh, but actually, as I was saying that, Andreas gets to Chitoi Tenpai and decides to jam it waiting on the red 5-mon.
If Andres didn't call Ricci there, well, which shape would you want to cut from Pio's hand? Would you cut the 2-3 pin shape, or
Oh, you just cut the 1/2 mon.
okay?
It's like the 2/3, like even though the 2/3 pin shape overlaps with the 5/6 pin shape, it's still just overall
You
easier
want
to
to accept the
accept.
Dora?
Yeah, and you still just
Yeah.
have more tiles and more flexibility than trying to get just a 3-mon. Like like if I was given a 3-mon now, say from Andreas's Ricci, because he has already discarded one. Maybe you can call it and try to like play something out, but everything's so close to the Dora now, and you don't want to play your red 5 shape, of course. That Yeah, so we'll see if Pio decides to push this hand, because he can always just fold with the triple East. Calvin here actually has quite the difficult choice to make, because he has no actual safe tiles, and his hand really isn't that close to doing anything. Like here, you'd normally want to cut the 1 pin, but it's Dora. She pushes out the 2-mon, which makes Andreas's weight Nakatsuji. The 2 and the 8 have both been discarded, which means that normally it's harder to wait on a 5, because normally your shapes would be 2 5-mon or 5 8-mon if you have a normal 2-sided weight. So because both of those come out, a 5-mon may actually be played, even though it's not a weight that normally would get dealt into. In fact, that may be Calvin's next discard if nothing better comes up. It doesn't be the 425, 6400, and Andreas gets his points back, or his Ricci stick back.
Players really like demonstrating. It's 3 times in a row. You know, we say something, they do it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, in that case, I think for Calvin, it's just like he just didn't have any good choices. Like
Yeah.
5-mon was by far the safest tile in his hand, but nothing's actually safe in Mahjong except for Genbutsu.
Yep. Moving on to East 3 now with the Dora's Tumon.
Yep. Dora 2-mon
Starting
Hunter's
hands.
starting hand looks quite nice. Being directed towards picking up the correct first tile, and the correct first tile is in fact another Dora. So this hand could get quite pricey quite quickly if you're a Humber here. To his right, Andreas is already Ishanten, actually. Has a really nice and has a very wide acceptance. The dream is that you draw 3-mon and then you can use both of those Dora, but you can't really complain about any Tenpai here. Maybe if you draw the 3-pin, you just say, no, I don't want that. Yeah, I'm just going to throw that Knights Out back. Going to keep dreaming of you being able to use the Dora here. So Honford with a potentially expensive hand, and Andreas with a very fast hand. And then looking at the other two, Pio's got 4 pairs, could even palm it down for a Toy Toy if he wanted to. He's got the Chuns. And Calvin's hand is actually also Ishanten. Lots of really strong hands this go around.
This has been
Andreas.
a very explosive East so
Yeah,
far.
I think the cheapest hands that's been won so far was that Richie Chitoy Aka we just saw. And that was 6,400. But even with red fives, it's not very normal for there to be no like 330s, 230s, like your 2Ks, your 3900s. Converse still trying to just kind of upgrade those shapes. Would like to make this into a Tanyao if he can. The problem is he's got two different 7/8s that need to fill in, so it can be quite awkward if you're trying to make that into a Tanyao hand. But like as soon as I see two Dora as the dealer, I always want to try for Tanyao.
Yo, not calling that 9 months, so maybe going for Cheetoy?
Yeah, will be the Cheeto. Oh, and that's gonna be Tempai here for Andreas. Can jam either Dora Tanki or a 5/8 pin Nobitan. The Dora Tanki obviously a lot more points, but the 5/8 pin has a significantly higher win chance. And it does take the 5/8 pin. Probably feeling pretty good after winning that Richie Chitoy. He's not super far away. The unfortunate the the person who's been losing out the most on all these big hands has been Calvin. So the three at the top, Pio, Homer, and Andreas, are all kind of in a scramble with each other. I think Andreas is definitely looking to just kind of keep pace, skip Homer's deal, and maybe he picks up a sumo, maybe he picks up maybe he picks up a sumo, maybe he picks up an Uradora. All sorts of things that could add value to Andreas's hand here. Meanwhile,
Calvin looking not to have any safe tiles yet again,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
not super likely to deal in. It looks like he is in a very like fightable Ishanten, but he has to make that fairly difficult choice to fight. Like for me personally, I think you just have to push this 6-0 back because like what else are you gonna do? But like it gets into your head, when you've dealt in a couple times in a row, and then all of a sudden you're forced into another situation where you have to take risks. It's like, man, why me? And Honver does see. So he has Honver gonna to go ahead and take this cheat. He did play one of his Dora as a safe tile, but feeling comfortable pushing that 8 mon. It is a long Suji. It's also Sotagawa to the early 6 mon. Like concept of the earlier tile gets discarded, the less likely there are shapes related to it in the hand. Calvin here with another choice has to push the 1 mon, which is right next to the Dora. Yeah.
Considering Andra's Reached with the Dora might be a little bit unsafe, but it passes anyway.
Yep, he does go ahead and get through, which is nice for him. That is going to be Honver playing out his other Dora. So now just looking to keep his deal, add one of those big combo that we've been talking about. Isn't a nice Ryanshan 10. Does not have to push any of the tiles that would deal in, but obviously he can't know that. The Haku especially looks quite intimidating. Actually, all of those tiles look quite intimidating. Draws an 8-mon back. Can't use that. Oh, that's going to be a red 5 sumos. So that's going to be a Mangan at least. Rishi Sumo Dora 2. No Ura, but doesn't matter. It's going to be 2,000, 4,000. That's going to propel Andreas into first place as we head into his East deal.
And we go into East 4. It's just motoring along here.
Yeah, for real.
Andra's opening hand looks kind of a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, not a whole lot really going for it. No Dora, no real shapes that even make using the Dora easy. No finish shapes. Definitely gonna be an uphill battle to make this one work. But drawing one of those Yakuhai and all of a sudden, calling hand fixes fixes a lot of speed problems.
Pio's hand looks a little bit better with the two Dora, the red 5 and the 8-mon.
Yeah, I always hate it when I've got a Dora that's connected to or like a Dora and a red 5 in my hand that are like a couple tiles away from each other. Because then it's so hard to use both of them at the same time. Though in this case, a nice 7-mon, and then you can just make 2 blocks out of the Manzu would go a long way for Pio. Also has 3 pairs, something to keep an eye on, but probably not something he's really thinking too hard about.
Andres drawing a red 5.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Then all of a sudden, Andreas's hand looks a lot more clean. Once you get rid of some of the garbage, still has a couple of garbage tiles to get rid of. But with how poor Calvin's hand looks, and by extension, like Honver's hand now looks quite scary with that 8-mon draw. Fills in the door into his Honitsu, now has overflowed all of his non-Honitsu tiles, and is going to go ahead and palm this south. He is not the south seat, so this should probably be a pretty good indicator to the table of what he is doing. But, when you're Ishanten for a Honitsu Dora 1, you don't really care if other people know what you're doing. Oh, but Pio's drawn fantastically, and there's now Ishanten himself for Pinfu Dora 2, with a potential Ipeco as well. And in a very greedy world, he can even get Ryan Pico. So it looks like everyone's going to be trying to catch up there. Andreas did pull in the second East, so can call and have a quite threatening hand as dealer. Would be Ishanten after that palm. So I think currently sitting Ryan Shanten. And Calvin's hand is just not making it work right now. This has been a very unfortunate game so far for Calvin.
Also, Pio picking up a second 7 pin puts him a little bit closer to Tanya.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice that switch out. Yeah, nice. So now he can even open this hand if he wants to for Tanya Aldora too. But I imagine that he'll want to try to get as many points out of this as possible, given that to him it's still quite early and he's a very nice looking Ishanten. However, there are some lurking bombs on this table. Humber's actually found his way to Tenpai, waiting on the 7-mon for Honitsu Dora 1. 7-mon, not a tile that would come out of Pio's hand. Also not a tile that would probably not a tile that would come out of Calvin's hand, but might. Calvin actually has 4 pairs and can actually pawn if he wants to on the Haku and the 8-mon. 4 pairs, 2 Dora. The makings of a big Chitoy, but still has quite a ways to go. That is going to be Ishanten, I believe. Yeah, Ishanten for Andreas. If he can pull in that last East or another 3-so even, we'll have pretty valuable hand as well with a pretty solid weight in that Pinzu. Yeah, probably acknowledging that he thinks Holmberg is Honitsu, but deciding like I don't have time to care. I'm just pushing that 9-mon right out.
Pio picking up a 4-so, so maybe potentially dropping a
Yeah,
Peiko if he gets closer to Tenpai. A
yeah.
different draw.
It's just a wider Ishanten. Yeah, so now he can take in the 4-so, the 7-so, the 5-so, and the 7-pin in addition to his already pretty nice looking Ishanten. Oh, that is a very awkward draw for Pio. Yeah, not a tile that you need, but a tile that you're maybe worried about to Honver. Honver hasn't overflowed any Manzu yet, so it's hard to really put him as being always Tenpai. So I think the players are just not quite realizing the how good Honver's hand is at the moment. Ooh, that is. I don't think that helps Andreas, but it's interesting. Yeah, and he's actually going to go ahead and try to make this into even a closed Honitsu, potentially. Oh, that's Tenpai for Pio? He's going to go ahead and Dama. It's Tanya Pinfudora 2, a very standard Dama Mangan. And if he sumos the 6-so, it will be a Haneman with the Peiko and the sumo. Looking at 3-6-0. Oh, which that 3-so that 3-so is going to come out right now from Andreas if he draws anything that progresses his hand or gets to palm the East. Yeah, so Andreas in a lot of danger if Honver doesn't find the 7-mon win.
Pio just doing a little bit of Hollywooding with the
Yeah, I like it. I
1-so.
like it. Anything you can do to make it a little bit harder to read what you've got going on. But honestly, for maybe it's just I don't get the experience of playing serious games in person as often. But if someone took that long to to discard, I would probably just kind of like wake up a bit and be like, huh, oh yeah, they're kind of doing something. Oh, this is gonna be the pawn.
Oh,
Yeah, that's gonna be the pawn of the dealing. Andreas getting his way back to Ishanten for a potential monster hand of double tone Honitsu Dora 1. But is gonna feed Pio's Mangan in the mean getting there. Took the route to try to get as many dealer points as possible, but ends up getting caught in the middle of his pair cut. Always something that feels really bad.
getting into South 1. Pio is in the lead, followed by Hanver and Andres closely behind. And unfortunately, Calvin being a little bit unlucky all the way in fourth.
Yeah. When you see three players with a positive score, that means someone's gotten the short end of the stick. Yeah, Hunter and Andreas go into the South round separated by only 100 points, so definitely anyone's game. But Pio definitely the favorite to keep momentum and take home first place here. We have the Doro 9-mon in this hand. Pio's hand looks quite nice. We'll maybe looking at a potential Tanya here. Uh, would like to find some flexibility in that Manzu shape. Currently, that like set of 3-mon is being used as a pair. Does pair up the South, so can now open the hand. Doesn't really look like it's going to have a ton of value, but could get him a dealer repeat, and we could add another home ball. We've only seen one so far this game.
Yeah, I've heard from some players that they don't favor like having very small hands that lead into repeats because of the
Yeah,
big humba.
yeah, because then all of a sudden if you deal in, you're probably paying out about as much as you just won, maybe even with interest.
Yeah,
Um, plus, plus then like you just create more and more opportunities for you to get sumoed on. But Pio is going to go ahead and take this pawn. Going to be Tenpai. Just waiting on 6-pin for South only. So it would be a 1,500 point win and then put 1,500 more points on the table. The rest of the hands, real quick, since Pio's Tenpai. Calvin's hand not looking too great. Could if it had more time, maybe you could get somewhere. But with Pio already being Tenpai and now getting a Rion Men weight as well, it's just going to be too hard. Hunter's hand also kind of in the same boat. Not a terrible hand by itself, but quite difficult to actually work. And now would probably have to overflow one of Pio's deal-in tiles. Oh no, that red 5 makes it a lot easier.
Andres' hand, however, looks really good, but is a little bit slow just because
Yeah,
Pio is
yeah,
in Tenpai.
there's gonna be the deal-in. Yep, tries to get rid of the 3-pin before it's dangerous there, holding onto that east as a backup save tile, but unfortunately Pio's hand was just fast. 1,500 points. All right, nice hand, whatever. And we're off. Pio, the only player that's gotten dealer repeats so far, and they really haven't been like. Obviously, the first hand where we got 9,600 was pretty nice, but like the Humba really have not been what contributed the most to his lead so far. He's just been finding big hands even on not his dealer, and is
Looking
opening
at
up what could be a monster here. We see 7 tiles to Sandoko, 8 tiles to Sandoko, and a lot of tiles that can fill in for a potential Chinroto or Honroto Toy Toy. Pio's hand is nuts. Where is the 1-pin? Is it going to come out from anyone's hand? No, they're
I
still
don't
live.
see any.
Pio could get closed Sandoko.
Calvin's hand, however, has a really big monster block.
Yeah. It's
Um,
unfortunate. With the 2-mon Anko, it's not quite as flexible as it initially looks, but definitely better than what he's been drawing so far. We'll see if he can make it work with any fast. Oh, but we do see the 1-pin come out, so Pio does have confirmed Sandoko at this point. Even if he cheesed the 7-mon to Tenpai, he can just take Junshan Sandoko and play out the 2-so, wait, 9-so Tonki.
Calvin having
Not,
to think about the 6-mon. Cuts the 9-mon potentially for Danielle.
yeah. Honestly, looking around the table, like none of these hands really seem like they're gonna have the speed to shut down Pio here. So we're gonna kind of see what happens. I honestly would have
Maybe
liked to see.
Honver potentially, but you still a couple away.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Pio keep the Haku there instead of the 2-so because like if you draw the 3-so, yes, you're Tenpai for Jinshan, but there goes your Sandoko, and that's most of the value in your hand. So the Haku can at least add Shanta and keep yourself like very live for Toy Toy. But of course, Pio is definitely just looking to draw a 9-so and a 9-mon and win a Yakuman. Would be very fun. We do see one of the 9-mon has been discarded. Honver could very easily make use of the 9-mon, though the 9-so would definitely come out, especially after that 6-so cut. And Andreas is sitting on a 9-so, but it's a tile in hand that's maybe not long for this world, depending on how his hand fills in. What has Pio drawn? Oh, Pio's drawn Tenpai. I see. Okay. Pio maybe knows that he's on stream, is decided not to be the greedy boy. Even though, honestly,
It
I
might
mean,
work out for him.
yeah. Yeah, a nice draw in here for Calvin. Now sitting on a very nice Ishan 10 with those Manzu blocks would be Ricci Tanya Dora 1. if he can find a Tenpai. Yep. Oh, and here would be the 9-so coming out of Andreas' hand if Pio. Oh, and Pio backfires on the 9-so. Oh, you can see him react in his chair. Oh, because this 9-so is about to get discarded by he would have been able to pawn it and be 9-mon Tanki for Chinroto. That's a tragic backfire. This is what you get for not being greedy. Oh, 9-pin. He's being offered a second chance.
Are there any 9 pins on the table? I don't see any 9 pins on the table.
Ah, there we go.
He's
All
taking
right.
it.
That's my boy. You know he's so mad at himself too.
I've been having a little think about this 7, so
This is Tenpai for Calvin. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it sideways. I'm gonna be waiting on just. It's actually okay. Well, let's see. Let's see if he actually sees his whole weight here, because at first glance he's waiting on the 4-7-mon, obviously. The 4-mon and the 7-mon with the shape there, but he's also waiting on the 3-mon. You can cut out a pair of the 2-mon from your hand, and then look at the shape as a 2-3. He's not Furryton on it, so yeah, if it comes out, we'll have to see. Pio drawing a 6-mon on the Apatsu prompts him to play the safe 8-mon.
which means it could potentially come out of PO. Unless PO's holding.
Yeah, it looks like Pio may be giving up on this hand, unfortunately. I don't think he's fully giving up. I think he's just like trying to go around, not avoid playing that 6-mon. But the 2-so doesn't actually look particularly terrible either. Andreas also has like a fairly reasonable hand that you could push with potential for a 4-5-6 Sanshoku, as well as Ipeko in there if you get really lucky. And Halvard is actually pulling Medora and is trying to hunt this down. Is sitting Ishanten himself. I don't know what tile he's just drawn, but it looks like he needs to fill in like a 6-mon of some sort. Pushes the 9-pin. Okay, yeah. Oh no, so it's a pair of 7-mon. So is Ishanten for Tanya Dora 3. Yeah. Looks like Pio may be able to find his way back to Tenpai, but definitely is not going to be the Yakuman. And when Andreas is now Ishanten himself, for not the Sanshoku, unfortunately, but could just get like still a pretty nice Ryanmen, Richi Tanya with potential for Ipeko or Dora, depending on which side he fills in. Oh,
Here's
Pio.
the 3-mon.
Yeah, here's the
Risky.
Dylan tile. Pio would oh, there it is. Oh!
Oh, but Calvin doesn't
Oh,
see
Calvin doesn't see it. Oh no, I was afraid of that. This is not a very common shape, nor is it one that you're particularly used to thinking about. Oh, and that's gonna be Tenpai for Andreas too. Do you know offhand what the Chumbo rules are?
I believe if Calvin were to call, it would be a Chombo.
Oh yes, but do you know like what the Chumbo
Oh,
penalty
what
is?
the Chombo penalty is? No, I'm not quite sure.
Andreas, by the way, had Tenpai and declined it. Chose instead to play out the 8-pin, saying, okay, if I get like my greedy or like my high value Tenpai by getting Sanchoku, I'll fight, but I don't see the need to fight with this 4-so right now, especially with Honver having an open Mangan and there being an open Richi on the table. That's going to be a 3-mon Khan for Honver, who's looking to try to win this with Rinshan Kaiho. What has he drawn? He's drawn the north. All right, safe tile. No new Dora created for anyone. It is the south, which is dead. It looks like Pio would have actually won his Chinroto, I think. But, you know, you can never know. So we've got 2 5-so versus Furryton 4-7-mon. This is also one of those things where, like, oh, wait. Oliver, the 7-pin's safe. You called it from Calvin. You could have conned that too. You didn't have to fold on it. So it looks like Oliver's been convinced to fold his own Mangan. He could have even conned to get it up to a potential Hanuman by just being afraid of conning the door into a Richi, but forgetting that he pulled the 7-pin from the Richi to begin with.
I think this is just Andres folding.
Yep.
Just making sure not to deal in.
Yep. Well, let's see. So let's take stock of where the forward 7-mon. Pio counting out the tiles left, making sure that no one draws an extra tile or anything. We see 1 in Andreas's hand, 2 in Honver's hand, and 2 in Calvin's hand. And a quick glance at the discards, I don't think there are any. So there's actually still a decent amount of winning tiles for Calvin. I just don't know if he has another draw left. I think this might be his draw. I think he might have the height here. This might be it. And it's not going to be it. Okay. I wonder if anyone's going to point it out to him. Or if anyone's even going to notice.
Honver did tap the 3-mon, but I don't know if that was said in said specifically as.
Yeah. Either way, very an unfortunate miss there for Calvin, who's definitely could have used the points there.
However, the Honva do carry over, and we love
So
big
that's
Honva here.
2 Honva and a reach stick. It's going to be 4,000 points in the middle just to start this hand. And just from a glance, Pio's hand looks very fast already. I see a Chun pair and a South pair.
From Calvin's hand, there's a big Manzu shape, and Calvin might just discard the South right away. Oh, no.
Yep.
Chooses to discard the East.
What a ridiculous hand that was, by the way, just in retrospect. We had potential Yakuman missed. We had potential Chombo missed. We had Rom missed. Lots of sparks that we're trying to find. We had a manga unfolded because Honver did not realize that the tile was safe. Lots of little things there that led to that hand getting into exhaust. That any one of them could have sparked a massive explosion of points.
Yeah. And we could say some of that might be due to nerves. I mean, I've been in the studio. It's quite warm in there, especially with the lights on and with potentially 5 bodies in there. A lot of people.
Yeah. I think it's more than 5 bodies even, right?
I think it's 5 right now, yeah. But
and you'll notice the only person that didn't have one of those misses was Andreas, who's, maybe a little bit more used to being there than other people.
I mean, it is home territory for Andres, which I think needs to be looked at. But,
I don't know. Personally, that might be a little bit unfair. Oh, Pio, come on, just con the tile.
Pio's not going to con the tile.
But, it's so important to play this hand as fast as you can, I think. We do see Calvin with actually a quite nice hand to maybe pick up those 4,000 points in the middle. Can even try to go for an open Tanya and just cut that 9/8. So block. Honver's going to pull out this 9-mon, looking for a Toy. And what is he going to cut here? Because if it's the Chun, then it's going to get Pio into Ishanten. It's not the Chun, it is the West. Andreas, also, that is a 4th pair. All of them are Tanya pairs, though, so he could potentially start calling himself. And I think with 4,000 points in the middle, doesn't even want it. Just wants the Tanya Dora 1 for 2,000 becomes 6,000. Quite nice. Or, well, 2,000 becomes 5,000, then you get the Ricci stick from last hand.
Yeah, I like going fast here for any of the players.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you've got 4,000 points in your hand, in the middle, that's, as much as your hand's probably going to be worth anyway. So you might as well just, rush and try to double your hand value, which is, what making your hand close usually does anyway. Well, those 9-mon draws fairly awkward here for Calvin. Yeah, you might as well keep it in favor of the 9/8 but that does give Pio another call and is now Ishanten. We may see the con on Pio's next draw, just because when you have a good Ishanten, typically conning is actually quite beneficial to you.
Andres drawing another 3-so. And deciding not to go for Cheetah. I think that's a good call.
Well, Pio draws Tenpai, which makes this con even easier than it already was. Flips the Dora, adds 1 to his hand, so it has South Dora 1 and quite a bit of Fu. But obviously the big win here is being Tenpai Forge with the sticks in the middle.
Unfortunately for Calvin, draws the 7-so. That would have completed the 7-8-9.
This is just kind of the way Calvin's Knight's been going, huh?
I mean, that's also just Mahjong, right?
Yeah. Especially, this is the Dora as well. So, even with the Furry 10, you kind of want to hold on to it. You did see Pio already cut a 6-0, so maybe you're thinking, hey, I can cheat it if he gets another one. Around the table, Andreas just got a fantastic draw for himself. Oh, yes, but does decide to push the 5-0 and deal into PO, unfortunately. It's just kind of been how this game has gone so far, I think. Andreas, PO, and Humber have all had like very reasonable hands, and POs have just been the fastest, like more often than not.
It's a little bit unfortunate, but and all the Humpa sticks go to Andres. But anyway, South 3,
We're already
Humber
in South
dealer.
3. Wow.
Yeah, these players are moving quite fast.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have an experienced table, even though if even though in this case, I'm sure Calvin would appreciate a couple seconds to breathe. You can always take that on your turn if you really need it. No way. Humber's first deal draws his tile, or second deal draws his tile, has the red 5. Not looking super great here.
Andres has some nice Sozu shapes with the 4-5 Sozu and 7-9 Sozu.
Yeah,
And the Pinzu shape of 7-7-8-9 looks
yeah.
alright, but still needs some work. Still needs some work.
Yeah, the really nice thing about that shape is that if you draw either the 3-so or the 6-so, you still have 2 tiles to fill in for 2 blocks. And if you draw the 8-so, then you can just play the 2-so out. It's like, oh, cool, I have a Rionman. I really like those type of 5-tile shapes where like you have a bunch of flexibility no matter how you fill it. PO's hand once again looking pretty quick. Has good floating tiles, has Rionman, doesn't have Dora. Actually, does anyone have the South Dora?
Pia just discards it.
Oh yeah, Pio drew and discarded it. But other than that, yeah, that was the first one we'd seen. And Calvin's hand maybe has designs like a Manzu straight, something like that, but just again, looking a little bit far. Maybe you see like the 4-5-6 Sanshoku from the 5 tiles he has to it. But when you're starting to think about 5-tile Sanshoku, you know you're kind of in dire straits.
Yeah, I think for Calvin and the Brooklyn Towers, just like claiming back any points, even if it's not for a win, might be a good thing for them to do, considering the rankings of the league
Yeah,
are so close. Um,
that's a good
that
point here. I think honestly with how this game has played out, like if Calvin couldn't like get points back, which you know sometimes it just happens, you can't do it. This has played out probably the best that he could have hoped for, with Andreas being the one that's been the dealing into PO, which like has been making very reasonable pushes. They just happen to be the tiles that deal into PO. But with the way the standings are, you know, if the Brooklyn Sours might be thinking, you know, if we go down, we might as well drag the FalKAns down with us and keep the fight for second place quite close, even if they are getting further and further away from the Mahjong Triad.
yeah. Drawing a red
Yeah,
dragon.
found his way into Ishanten. He's gonna hold that red dragon just as a general safe tile. He's already played one, so you know he's not really like looking for it, but he knows that it's a safer tile than 3-mon if someone were to declare Ricci right now, which would let him fight, you know, a little bit more safely. Yeah. Andreas draws in the 9 or the 8-so here. Is actually sitting in a quite nice Ishanten himself, though, or not a very nice one, but like a playable one. He'd be looking for a 2-pin to get a 3-sided weight for Ricci Pinfu, waiting on 3, 6, and 9-so. Of course, you know, you're 3 times more likely to draw in the 3, 6, and 9-so than you are to draw on the 2-pin, but it happens sometimes. We're going to go ahead and palm the Haku that he's paired up. Plays out his West pair. Looking just like make anything happen to keep his deal so that he can challenge PO for this first place. Because if you get to South 4 without a deal and you're 20k down from first place, you know, you've kind of lost all hope there. And it's like, all right, well, let's just secure my second. We do see the Chi on the 1-mon as well. I imagine this is going to be the red 5 played out. Yes, and it is. So now Honba is Ishanten himself. It's just going to be Haku, but you know, when you can create Honba and palm the Tenpai, like, you know, good things can happen.
And no Humbers and Tempai.
Yep.
Easy peasy, right?
Yep. Just get the tiles you want. Just force someone else to cut them.
We could potentially have a double Ront situation if Andres completes his 1 3-pin shape.
Yep, but looks like before that happens, Pio's going to deal in with that 3 so he just drew. Yeah, definitely a fairly aggressive play for Pio, but at the same time, he does see 3 calls and only sees Haku as value. So it's quite difficult for the dealer to have any more value behind there, especially with the Dora being a relatively unusable south. The most you're expecting is maybe a red 5 in the back. So a reasonable push when you've got Ryanman, Ishanten, what looks like a very strong weight.
Also, I know we keep going back to it, but with Big Homba, you might win back just as much as you paid, if not more.
Yeah, and Pio definitely has a hand that looks like it can try. But starting with the dealer's hand, we do have West Dora nowhere to be seen in there, but the shapes don't look terrible. Would like to find something around that red 5 so, and would like to fill in that 1-3-5 mon shape if you're Honver as fast as possible, but it's quite nice looking hand.
Andres' hand is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mon, which is really nice.
Yeah,
And
those are the
a
shapes you love to see when you're starting your hand. But
yeah,
just needs to find any sort of connector to any of the rest of the tiles because unfortunately the rest like the left half of the hand looks great, the right half of the hand is just not holding its weight. Pio's hand, like I mentioned, looks like it could potentially be pretty quick. It has a potential, like pretty good Tanya routes, especially with that 4-so draw. Now there's a potential for a 2-3-4 or a 3-4-5 Sanshoku, and Pio's going to go for that. See, he's holding both the 2-so and 5-so and the 2-mon and 5-mon. So whichever way that fills in the Pinzu, he can go for that. But I think he's also quite happy to call for Tanya Nomi here if he gets the opportunity because he'll get his 1,500 points back plus 1,000 for winning the Tanyao, and then be very happy sending the game into South 4 with a probably insurmountable lead, barring some dealer shenanigans. And then this is probably the best hand we've seen Calvin have tonight, or at least the best one recently. I think he had a couple of decent hands at the start of the game. Has the floating West Dora. Not really a whole lot he can do with it at the moment, but if it pairs, that's great. And also just has like generally good floating tiles for like a Ricci Pin Food Dora 1, something like that. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and cut the West here for the more efficient 1 pin, and definitely just trying to find anything here to get as much points back as possible.
Andre cutting the 9 mon, which ruins potential for the mixed triplets weight, but
Yeah,
is probably more efficient in the long run.
yeah, it's a little bit tough because you've got that 8-mon pair. But with the 1-mon pair, maybe you could have held on to it for a little bit. Either way, it's not particularly likely for it to work out. And Pio actually has now drawn his way to Ishanten, but he has drawn the 7-so for it, which is not the best tile for it. Is that the only tile you can accept into that is 6-so. But I'm sure, I mean, he'll take any Tenpai if he can get it. The red 5 comes out from Honver. Andreas is like, well, thank you very much. If you're going to give me a red 5, I will happily oblige. And is now sitting Ishanten himself for Tanya Akatu. Should be a nice 5,400 points for him with the Homba. Oh, and speaking of, Andreas just drew the best possible tile for himself. That 4-pin was going to potentially kill his Tanya, but we do see him getting the Tenpai now, waiting on the 2-5. So that 2-5 so is something that may come right out of Calvin's hand, unfortunately, if he happens to draw Tenpai right here. Does not draw Tenpai, draws a Dora instead, but that extra 5 so in Calvin's hand is a ticking time bomb if he can't connect the tile to it. And Pio's still sitting Ishanten, trying to draw his way to Tenpai. I believe that no, that's not quite Tenpai. But yeah, that is going to be the deal in to Andreas. That's 5,400 points that Pio really did not want to part ways with. And now all of a sudden, things are very close for second place, but he's kind of in range of he's in range of getting his first taken if Honver can find a Hanuman. Yeah, so
Moving into
yeah.
all last tier, Andres' hand looks like there's a 3, 4 red 5 pin shape, a 4, 5,
Ooh. Yeah, looking
5
really nice.
Sozu shape, which is good start. Uh,
Yeah.
Andres is a strong player, and we'll try to make this last for as long as this
Yeah.
stats last for as long as possible.
Yeah, every now and again, like you kind of get that feeling as a mahjong player. It's like this is my dealer run, or you just like you start feeling invincible because you're the dealer and you just want to make it happen. Uh, which is like which is very rarely the reality, but it feels good when you can make it happen. It looks like the door is the 7-mon, correct? I'm having a little
Okay.
bit of trouble seeing.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Which I don't see in anyone's hands so far, but Pio does
yeah,
have 2 8-mon and can potentially connect it.
yeah.
While
The 7-mon being the door here might actually be a little bit of a downfall for Pio because it'd be a tile you maybe want to cheat here to try to get the Itsu or the full straight and the Banzu, but it's just maybe not something that's going to be as easy to find as it normally would be. But yeah, looking for anything to just like win the game quickly. Honver, on the other hand, looking to secure his second place, so probably looking for the same thing. Has some potential for like Tanyao shapes, does draw in the 7-mon Dora here into the 789. So probably Tanyao out the window now, but has a pretty reasonable like route to just getting a nice Richi Pinfu Dora. With some like Ipatsu luck and like Ura, like Richi, Ipatsu Sumo, Dora, Ura, Pinfu, something like that, like boom, you win the game. So it's a long shot, but it's not impossible. And Calvin's hand has the makings of like the type of expensive hand he'd be trying to catch up to Andreas with. Can call it for potentially like Chinitsu Toy Toy, something like that. Or even just like a Chinitsu. Even a hand that keeps you in fourth place in league is not really that bad to take. Because the difference between like 6,000 points and 14,000 points at the end of the game, that's 8 points. That's not nothing.
yeah, and I think Hunter would be. Uh, I think Hunter would be pretty happy with just a meager second place, considering the Yakumen were very far behind a couple weeks ago, and have now caught up to the rest of the pack.
Yeah, if I check in on
But
the standings here, I believe if this second place will take the Yakumen pretty much back to just plus minus 0, which I haven't been following the standings as closely, but from what you're saying, it sounds like they were not in the best of shape.
no, they were definitely on the lower half of the table and not doing the greatest.
Yep. And it looks like Honver actually has found his way to Ishanten here, maybe able to confirm that second place and maybe even dream of first place, depending. Andreas has also found his way to an Ishanten, looking to make use of that red 5-mon, but currently it's doing nothing in his hand. Looking for Itsu Dora 1 would be the way it currently fills in. However, he did just see 2 8-pin get discarded in the last turn and a half. But that 8-pin is a tile that Honver needs to get rid of if he does get Tempai. So we could. Oh, that is Tempai. So we're probably going to see Honver play out this 8-pin. Is it going to come out sideways? Oh, he's going to cut it. Is he going to open Richi or is he just going to Richi?
I think it's just normal Rishi.
No, it is the
Oh,
open
it's open
Richi.
Richi.
Because yeah, so this way, if Honver does sumo this, it's open Richi for 2 Han, Pinfu, sumo, Dora 1. All he needs is Ipatsu or Uradora, and he will have made a comeback over Pio. However, that open Richi does make it so that Andreas does not have to worry about pushing the red 5-mon into his Richi, and then can safely call for Tempai himself, now waiting for a full straight on the 3-so Kanchan.
You're drawing the one so kind of awkwardly into the open Rishi.
Yeah, well, so now Pio's hand is pretty much completely shut down. If Calvin is actually, so the only way that Andreas can win his hand currently is if Calvin decides to cut one of those 3-so, or if Andreas is able to upgrade the shape. That is not it, because all of those 3-so are held in Calvin's hand, so he is at least preventing Andreas from winning. Oh, that's very unfortunate for Pio. He would have had the Tempai on the Ipeco Pinfu, but cannot cut that 1-so. Let's
I mean,
see.
Pio's had a lot of luck tonight. I think
Oh
we
yeah,
can
of course, of
cut him
course,
a
of
break for
course.
that one.
Yep. But anyway, looking around the table, I don't think there's been a 1-so discarded. From my quick glance at the pawn, so we see 3 held between Pio and Calvin's hand. and then there are 2 Forso held in Calvin, like between Calvin and Andreas. So there should, I believe, be 3 tiles in the wall for Humber to sumo on. And there he is.
And
There it is. Will there be
perfectly
Ura for the
demonstrating the
first
point.
place? Ura for first place? No, misses it by a tile. So that's going to be a very strong second place for Humber here, and that is, I believe, going to be enough points to get the Yakumen back above starting. I think that should put them at positive for the season. But you know, when you've got Ura and you've got this is one of those hands where there's only one pair. It's the widest Ura chance possible. It comes out to about like 37%, give or take, to hit Ura. So had a 37% chance for first place there once he hit Sumo. Didn't quite find it, but from where PO was just a hand ago, that's pretty dang good to get to.
Yeah, but I believe we're ready to go to break as the players will take a break of their own. And I think we'll see you all in a few minutes.
Yep, sounds good to me. All right, and welcome back. We are about to get into our second game of the evening after the players have had a quick break and we had time to take stock of everything that happened in that game. Uh, with the results of those first two games, that does in fact put Homer and the Yakumen back above a +0. What are you looking for to happen in this next game, Wes?
I'm just looking for everyone to have fun, as always. But
Yeah,
I would like to see the Pio and the Emperor Penguins come back and make a bigger splash. I mean, not that they really needed it
yeah. I mean,
after that game, but
with that first, I
just for the
believe another
standings.
first of that caliber should get them back to about 0, right? Because they were at like -20, -120, I believe, going into today.
Yeah, minus 125.
Yeah.
So
I
hope.
think I think a lot of people got to have fun last game. I think I would like to see Calvin get to have fun this game.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I would like to see Calvin have some better hands. And as we're off, Andros is our first dealer. Has a pair of East, a
Ooh.
three of the 5 pins.
Yeah, and the 7/8 mon also looks quite nice. Organizing his hand in a very nice way. Very grateful so that I can read.
Also has
I
the 789. So
yeah.
is that Ishantan?
Well, it is Ishanten, but it's not really the Ishanten that you want because you'd really like you always want to be able to palm the double East, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, right, like this Ishanten would be for Nomi. It'd be a fast Nomi, but you kind of feel like you're missing out.
I mean, that is the name of the club after all.
Indeed, indeed. Good things
uh,
happen when you reach Nomi. You can get Richi Patsusumo Uro, easy manga.
uh,
Um, in
moving on to
terms of
Pio's hand. Let's
in terms of players that can shut this down, Pio's hand looks like it could do the job. Sitting 2 away from Tenpai himself, would really like to fill in that 7 pin, but other than that, just needs to find a connector to either the 5 so or the 6 mon. That 8 pin also helps sometimes. As Dora
Yeah.
1 has easy acceptance of the 5 mon Dora as well. For Calvin, holding on to one of those East that Andreas is looking to call, but and has a pretty playable hand himself. Just looking to find a connector to either the 8 so or the 7 pin and fill in a 3 pin. And then lastly, we've got Homer. Probably has 3 pairs. Potential for Tanya, but definitely just feels a little bit slow compared to the table.
Yeah, I'm surprised Calvin didn't cut the East early. I feel like most people at the club do decide to cut the East very early on, but maybe Calvin is not from that school of thought and
Yeah,
maybe wants some more value after what happened last game. So,
true. Then again, that
uh,
East is just a tile that's liable to get him in trouble, as Andreas is not Tenpai. However, get a very does decide to just take it. Interesting. All right, very early dealer Ricci, but very could have with by waiting for that East to come out. I mean, obviously you can never know if the East comes out, but you can get more points and a stronger weight if that East ever does come out. Pio does draw the dealing tile on the Apatsu though. Decides to fold, or at least try to go around the hand by playing the safe 4 pin. We'll see what the rest of the table reacts, or see how the rest of the table reacts. We saw
first
Calvin.
hand does look really good though, even though despite the Ricci, with the a lot of Manzu with a 2-2-3-4 Manzu and a 7-8-8 Manzu, and
Yeah,
it's
it's made
almost
its way
complete.
quite. Yeah, it's made its way quite quickly. This is a safe tile for Calvin. Can just push the 1 pin out that Pio just cleared the way for. Is now both Calvin and Holmberg are still 2 away from Tenpai, but would not have to deal into push. Yeah, but we are going to see the fold out from Holmberg here. Does not feel like taking any risks into a dealer Ricci. Pretty happy with getting his team back to second place or back to above positive.
Calvin drawing the 3 pin, completing that 2-3-4 pin shape. Might drop the East here. Oh, decides to cut the 4 pin.
Yeah. The thing with dealing the East into a dealer Ricci is that like you have to be prepared if you deal in for it to be at least 7,700 points, which after last game probably is weighing on Calvin's mind because that would be a disastrous way to start off. Though he would be Tenpai right now. It'd be a very bad Tenpai, and it looks like he's just going to dismantle it entirely. So now it's just, is Andreas going to sumo, and is someone going to get forced into cutting a Tuso? Because it is now Suji as well. Or wait, is it Suji? Yes, it is
Yes.
Suji. Yeah. Because the 5 so came out. We only see one of the Tuso, correct?
Oh, but Pio is about to deal it.
Yep, there it is. Richi Nomi. no Ura, 2,000 points, put 1,500 on the board, and run East 1 again. Oh, actually, it's oh no, it's still it's even if you're playing with the East being the East pair being 4 foo. That was one of the recent WRC rule changes that they moved like double win pair from being 4 foo to 2 foo. That still would be only 40 foo there. As you get 4 from the East, 4 from the 5 pin Onko, and 2 from your weight being a Kanchan. I don't know whether or not those are the rules for Nomi League. I imagine Andreas does. So
I'm not sure about the scoring rules specifically, but there is a judge on site, an anonymous judge who is very willing to help people score and is a
yes,
resource for all of the players to use.
yeah, always
Uh,
nice to have that player.
Looking at opening hands, Andres' hand has double west, calls the red
Yeah,
dragon.
calls the chin
Uh,
real quick. Yep, gives right into Pio's east. His hand's gonna I think gonna move a little bit faster than we can keep up with.
and one Dora.
Yeah, one Dora, very callable, very potentially fast for Andreas to pick up the home that he just created. Now Ishanten as well, and West is how you expect to get to pull him, pretty much always. And Pio's kind of got it sitting there, about to come out.
And Pio also has the straggling one mon that Andres could potentially
Yeah,
win on.
I think what could end up happening here is Pio might draw like some progression, cut the West, get it palmed, draw more progression, and then deal in with the one mon. That'd be quite the unfortunate series. No, I'm just gonna play the one mon out now. All right, saves himself from that future. Anyway, the other camera that we haven't looked at all is again, this hand is quite fast. Calvin's sitting there, not a terrible hand actually. Ishanten, or sorry, Rian Shanten still. Definitely can fill in the Dora, which would be quite nice, and then look for a 2-3-4 Sanchoku or a 1-2-3 Sanchoku in some worlds. That's probably a little bit too slow given what Andreas has going on. And then Honver is actually Ishanten for what could be a 7-8-9 Sanchoku. Oh, I believe we just see Andreas call on that one mon? Because Andreas did get to Tenpai and maybe was thinking, oh, I need the one mon. So I don't know whether or not the hand is dead.
Decides to change up his weight a little bit, cutting the west.
Yeah. I wonder. Wait, Theo, interestingly, decides that he does not want Tenpai and is instead going for Onitsu. His PO could have been Tenpai there if he had held on to that Forso. So now all of a
Yeah,
sudden, like, things are looking a lot slower. This is this is an interesting draw for Holmberg. Makes Izzy Shanten better. Gets the confirmed pair.
Andres upgrades to a red 5 mon.
Yeah, okay. I'm getting confirmation from our cams chat people that Andreas's hand is in fact dead. He did call Ron on that one month. Likely just filled in the 4 mon the turn before and like had it in his head that he needed a 1 mon. But then didn't realize didn't his brain didn't adjust to the fact that his weight was now 8 pin west. Because he was probably expecting to pull in the west to Tenpai and then wait on the 1 mon. Honestly, I did the same thing at Richinomi in the tournament, my first game of the day. I dead-handed the only hand I was actually going to win that game. So that opens up a lot of room for other people to take advantage. Theo has decided to stop greeting for Honitsu and actually did take the Tenpai. Calvin, I believe, is Ishanten for that 2-3-4 Sanchoku that I mentioned. And Holmberg's still sitting with just a very wide Ishanten looking to find anything. And Andreas is just kind of like sitting there mad at himself, trying not to deal in. Which, like, it happens. Everyone's kind of been there. That's just Mahjong, really.
Looking at Kelvin's hand, he did just discard the 3 mon earlier, which might give people a signal that stuff around the 3 mon is safe, potentially, which
Yeah,
might
I
be
mean,
benefit to him later on, but
yeah.
we'll
You don't
see.
really need any more, I think, signal than the 2 mon is the Dora. Especially if Calvin were to end up reaching that hand.
Yeah.
This is technically Tenpai for Humber, but it's definitely not a Tenpai you want to take. It'd be taking this hand that could be Riichi Pin Fudora even to and just be Riichi Nomi waiting on a 7-pin Kanchan that you already have one of in your hand. Definitely a very reasonable Tenpai decline there. Calvin still cannot find that Tenpai. Needs either the 2-5 mon or the 6-9 pin. Would love to see a 2 mon because then he'd have Sanchoku.
We'd have
Honver
Sanchoku
also,
and Dora.
yeah. Honver not finding this Tenpai. Pio not finding the south or the north. From a quick glance, I think only one of those souths has been discarded. Oh, there's the Tenpai for Calvin. Gonna go ahead and discard, yeah. Gonna go ahead and Riichi. Don't really expect this to get dealt into, but that's not really the point of this Riichi. Then again, Honver now is Tenpai as well and can chase on his 9-pin if he can find it in him. Would just be Riichi Dora 1, but with a Honba in the middle, like it's not the worst, you know. You get a lot of value if you win, but besides the 9-mon is between the quality of the 3-mon weight and the 9-pin not being particularly safe, decides that folding is going to be the more prudent choice course of action. And yeah, it's likely now just going to continue cutting this Sozu block because they all look very safe. Andreas now just doing his best to avoid this. Doesn't really have very many good tiles to play defense with, but I can't quite see whether or not he has Genbutsu. Pio blocking his draw, but still waiting for one of those souths or norths to come out. Pushes the 5-pin, I see. Must feel really good about his winning chances here. Sees 2,500 in the middle and decides that it's worth risking it for east only. And he can also get the south.
Yeah, Pio's hand might just sneak up on someone like Andres, just cutting safe tiles or potentially safe tiles. Because it's a wind weight. People normally think those are safe. There is one south on the table, but other than that, maybe the
Yeah.
north is
Like
something that'll come
I
out.
could definitely see that being a tile that like Honver or Andreas plays, just especially Andreas has a lot of really like expensive looking tiles in his hands. Oh, but I think he does have Genbutsu still with those 8-mon, but did just draw that south. So that might be the next one up on the chopping block if he happens to run out of safe tiles. Let's see. Let's take stock of the Dora. There we see a 2-5 mon in Andreas's hand. We see two 5-5 mon. Pio actually had to break up his Tenpai, drew the Dora, and smartly did not deal into the Sanchoku Dora Pinfu. Yeah, so Pio goes ahead and folds out with these souths. Has 3 of Calvin's winning tiles, and Honver has a 4th. So I believe there should still be two tiles in the wall, unless there's something discards that I can't see. But yeah, we are getting to the end here. 2 more draws. Yeah, and Calvin gets through his last draw without finding that win. Unfortunate for him, but picking up 3,000 points here, definitely not a bad result.
And
that
that
will
does
take us.
increase the Humba.
Yep, gonna take us to East 2. And that's gonna be East 2 with 2 Humba and I believe 1 Riichi stick left over, correct? Yes, 1 Riichi stick.
Yeah.
So another instance where we've got 4,000 points in the middle, and I believe most players are just going to be trying to play as fast as possible and pick up those points.
Looking at Pio's opening hand, Pio has double Dora with the red 5-pin and a 1-2-3-pin shape. But the
Yeah.
rest of the hand is kind of lacking.
Yeah, you really want to find any way to open this hand if you're PO, whether that be pairing the East, pairing the Chun, or going for like a straight in Pinzu. But the straight in Pinzu is going to be really difficult because you need a bunch of tiles around the Dora.
Calvin's hand is a little bit stronger with a bunch of almost completed shapes, but
yeah,
not fast enough, it seems
the
like.
key block I think for Calvin is that 1-3. So if he can find a way to make that into a Tanyao, he might be able to call this for a quick hand. Onward to his right has a similar quality of hand where there's a lot of things that could potentially look towards a Tanyao and lots of decent shapes. Also has 2 Dora, which is a nice improvement over Calvin's type of hand. But still just looking pretty slow unless he can find a way to open it. With that 9-7 so being the block that's really gonna hurt it. And then we have Andreas here who's Izzy Shanten already with that Haku Palm. Just needs to find a 7 so and a 3-pin. So we'll see if he can get one of those tiles out from Honver. It looks like potentially in some worlds. Oh, that 4-pin draw is fantastic for Honver. But there might be a world where if Honver goes Tanyao, that 7-so comes out, but otherwise it looks like Andreas might have to draw them himself. Now there's Pio drawing a sixth, seventh tile to a full straight. Would be Itsu Dora 3, which would be, plenty of value on top of the Holbo. Olmer now actually just drew probably the best possible tile he could, and it's now Ishanten. We'll see how he draws, because if he draws in the Manzu, he may well cut that 9-7 so and give Tempai to Andreas. There's going to be the 4-so draw for Calvin as well, so he can also move towards Tanyao. I'm very addicted to Tanyao, if you can't tell.
I mean, Tanya's pretty powerful when in conjunction with other things.
Yeah, specifically Big Homba.
I mean, yes, Big Homba. Gotta love it.
Yeah. For me personally, I've been playing a lot of East only games, so I look at every hand as like, all right, how can I open this? I need to go fast.
Calvin drawing that 8-so, completing the 6-7-8 shape.
Yeah, can play out the 6 here. Ooh, I don't like playing the Manzu. That goes back a Shanten here. That's I think you just have to either lock the pair or play the 6-0 to try to hedge that Sanchoku, but now all of a sudden you're just a step slower, and that might end up being the difference here between Calvin getting Tempai and winning this points and just being a step behind Holmberg and Andreas.
Yeah, I think Sanchoku can sometimes be a trap, but we'll see how this works out for him. Hopefully it does,
Yeah.
considering the last game.
Yep. Pio draws an Anko of 5-so now. Actually has a lot of very wide shapes to progress with, but it's still just very difficult to open with. Oh, the Formon comes back to Calvin. Gets another chance to make the decision, but does end up making the same one. Andrea's still sitting there, has not gotten anything useful out of Honver. Yeah, Honver thinking about holding that white dragon as a save tile, but would just be too inefficient to do so. There's too many upgrades you get by holding that 6-mon. Pio's now Ishanten and can open for that Itsu. It's a tile that Andreas will if it's a actually Andreas does not have to cut the 4 or the 7 pin because he can just play the 1 pin. Yeah. Oh, and there would have Calvin would have had Tempai. Would have been just a 3-mon, but even then you'd have Tanya and you could just Dama that. Oh, it's gonna be an upgrade for Honver as well, but just goes to a wider Ishanta, but now doesn't have a pair. Tough choices here for Calvin. Lots of really interesting things that this hand can do now. I think the biggest worry I have for him is that both the 1-so and the 9-so would be Furryten, so these 4 and 6 just aren't as good as they look.
Yeah. I kind of like having my 7s as my pair.
Yeah, but I think at that point he's still thinking about that 6-7-8 Sanshoku, but the problem is most of the time you're not getting that. You'd have to get exactly the 6-0 at this point, or else you're gonna end up Furryten.
Yeah.
6-pin comes out from Honor. Still looking at a nice Ishanten himself. Andreas was able to upgrade his Ishanten, by the way. Can now palm the 8-mon or the 2-pin as well as Chi the 7-so or the 3-pin. 6-0 is going to come out from Pio there. What did he draw? Did he draw a Tempai? No, he did not draw a Tempai. Drew an extra 3-pin, which may end up dealing into Andreas if Andreas can find Tempai and decides to take that weight.
Calvin is in Furryten Tempai potentially, but
Yeah, which you might as well take it, but you should not reach it, I don't think. He's deciding. Yeah, because the Ricci doesn't add a whole lot of value here. Winning the hand is the biggest value in this hand because of the humba and whatnot. You're not really gonna get someone to fold with 5006 in the middle just by calling Ricci. Oh, and speaking of which, that's gonna be Pio getting this Tempai Dama. Oh, that's a fantastic. Or actually, it's not quite as good of a draw as it looks. But
yeah,
can
after
now
cutting the 7-pin, yeah.
can now Ricci for a non-Furryten Tempai, which I think might actually be worth it here. and goes ahead and does it. It's just going to be Ricci only on the 6-0 and the 7-0, but no, you got to make the table think a little bit. But Pio's waiting on that Gembutsu. Oh, that's Tenpai for Honber as well. Pio's waiting on 7-pin, which would be safe to both Honber and Calvin. No, Honber decides to play it safe with the 9-so. However, if he decides to play that 7-so, Suji is going to get him in trouble. Pio pushes Andreas pushes out the 2-pin. Pio pushes out the 4-mon. Oh, Andreas got Tenpai, that's why. So we've got 3 Tenpais. We've got 3-pin, we've got 7-pin, and we have the 6-0, 7-so.
Bless you.
Thank you. I'm slowly dying.
Aren't we all?
Oh, wait, no, never mind. Oh, well, Pio can con this 5-0, which is probably a better alternative to discarding it. If Pio's looking at like the discards, it looks quite dangerous to everyone. What does he get? He gets the North. Oh, and he reaches it. Yeah, all right. I like it. Pio deciding like if I'm gonna con this, I'm gonna go full greed. There is a 7-pin left for him to get, I believe. Correct? There's only been 2 discarded, and there's 1 in Calvin's hand.
I believe so.
If Pio Ipatsumo's this, like, I'm just quitting. Oh my god.
Well, I guess we're gonna see you never again.
Have a good night, everyone. I don't even want to count the amount of points this is. What is this garbage? Where's the Ura? 0 Ura, it looks like, but even still. Pio was the dealer as well, huh? Is that a Baimon? It was a Baimon, yeah. Ricci, Ipatsu, Sumo, Itsu, Dora 3. And then with the Honba, that's also 9,000 all.
Well, Pio sure is having fun today. So
yeah, Pio's having a great time. It almost makes up for that Shinroto he passed. See, now that he's like winning, I have to keep harping on that just to make him feel worse.
Sure.
Well, that brings us to Honba 3.
Which does give potential for anyone to come back.
Yeah.
But looking at Pio's opening hand, it looks like it might be hard pressed for someone to come back.
Jesus. Yeah. The good news for non-Pio fans is that he doesn't have any of the 9-so Dora, or that the Dora is not usable in this Tanya, but he's probably going to go for. Around the table, we do see Calvin's hand. So whenever I change like perspectives, it's hard for me to remember whose hand I'm supposed to look at first. Calvin's hand is Ishansen already, but it's very like iffy. But with 4,500 points in the middle from the Honba, like I'm willing to jam anything, and that's a fantastic draw. Gives just more tiles to Tenpai, and it's going to greed onto this Dora for a little bit at cost of a tiny bit of efficiency, which I really like as a play. Honber's hand feels a little bit too slow for 3 Honba on the table, but he does have the East pair, so maybe he can palm something and just make it happen. But yeah, it just doesn't really feel like it. And then Andreas.
Andreas' hand has a 5-pin and a 7-pin pair, and
he's actually Ishanten as well. Yeah, he can actually draw into a Damaable Tenpai if he can find a 6-pin. Speaking of 6-pin, it just got palmed. So sorry about that, Andreas. That is no longer an option for you. Pio moving his way to Tanya Dora 1 Ishanten. Also has like outside chances where this becomes Toy, but probably just going to try to go as fast as possible. 2,900 plus 4,500 is in fact a pretty nice amount of points. Oh, draws the Furry-ten out, but doesn't really have to worry about it too much because he never has to take the 1 4-pin weight if he doesn't want to. Oh, that is going to be the Ricci here for Calvin. I'm going to be waiting on 1-mon and 9-mon. Ricci Nomi, but like Ricci Nomi here is worth 6k. So that's pretty good.
Honber drawing the 3rd East.
Yeah,
kind of progressing, slowly progressing, but
yeah,
it's better than nothing.
yeah. Is Ryanshan 10 can try to make something happen, but the problem with Big Homba is like it's a little bit different from there being Ricci 6 on the table because you're the one who has to like actually you know like pay out if you deal in. Whereas like if there are Ricci 6 on the table, then like those are just points that are already in there. You don't have to worry about them. This is a difficult choice here for Andreas. Can maybe try to go this for Tanyao. Decides to take the widest possible temp or Ishanten here by holding on to the 8 so and playing 2-mon. Definitely a brave discard, but it gets rewarded here. It's like, I mean, honestly, like points is good. Having points is good. Oh,
Under
there's
drawing the deal in tile.
yep, it does slot into a block. He does go ahead and play 8-pin, 8-pin, deciding to play a little bit more cautiously while still trying to hold on to these East and maybe make something happen. Ooh, Andreas here has an opportunity to switch to this to a Tanya. Can play out the 9-so, 9-so, but the 9-so is the Dora. Kind of forgot about that part. Can play 7-pin here as well. Oh, goes for the 8-so. Okay, so again, like probably the most efficient path towards Tempai. And just definitely taking a risk there by playing the tile that is the Dora indicator. Theo, by the way, has doesn't really have very many choices. Oh, and Humber's gonna go ahead and cheat this. I wonder what we're gonna see him discard. Probably the 8-pin that he already made safe. Yes. Humber now Ishanten. Andreas draws a 2-mon back. That doesn't help anyone. Pio also Ishanten. I think everyone's Ishanten, correct? Yes, everyone's Ishanten except for Calvin, of course. By the way, where are Calvin's tiles? He's winning 1-mon, 9-mon. I know one's in Humber's hand.
I believe the rest of them are in the wall. If I'm one of them's discarded.
Yeah, one discarded. All right, so a two tile wait essentially, but one of both, which I think is better than 2 of 1. Man, Andreas just keeps having to make these absolutely brutally difficult decisions, but just keeps pushing. I mean, oh no, he played the 9-so out. Okay,
Interesting.
which still pushing, but it's just quite difficult at this point. Oh, and that's gonna be the sumo, Ricci sumo. No Ura, but I do not envy them having to calculate this. Because Ricci, it's only 30 fu still. Is it sumo, and then you get the 9-mon onko. But so it's 500, 1,000 plus 3 home, which is 1,500 or 2,000, 2,500. Does that sound right?
Uh,
What a curse!
I'll just let the players figure that
Yeah.
one out. But that does launch Calvin into quite a second place.
Yeah, takes them all the way from like 16 back up to almost starting points, even after paying out the 9,000 point buy-mon from Pio.
But does not get Calvin back to positive, considering
Yeah,
PO has been hoarding everyone's points, as
yeah,
has been the theme of the night.
yeah. So now everyone's just kind of got to scramble for points again because they're not built into their hand with the Homba. And it's like it's people are happy for the Homba to be built up, but only if they're the one doing it. So we'll see. We'll see what Calvin can make happen with this deal here. See if he can get any of those points back from Pio.
Looking at his opening hand, though, there's a couple of great shapes with the Pinzu and the Manzu, the
Yeah,
1 2 3 4 Mon and the 7799
yeah, very reasonable
Pinzu.
hand. 3 pairs as well, which is not like really ideal, but can be pretty flexible in what it wants to do. Probably has to end up being a Ricci. I don't really see any clear opening chances.
However, Hanver has Tudora with the double 6 Mon and a 6 7 8
Yeah,
9 shape.
Tudor are already nicely into a shape as well. And if he does happen and draws the Hatsu as well, which is fantastic for like the winnability of this hand. Because Honver would very much like to just like palm this Hatsu, win like Hatsu Dora 2 or Dora 3 if he can get another 6-mon or the red 5 so. And just like one, catch up with Calvin, but two, like boost himself ahead of Andreas. So Andreas, speaking of, his hand is just kind of a little bit in a shambles. Just not the hand you really want to see. It has Dora acceptance, but not every hand can really be a winner. That is a nice draw for it, though. Unfortunately, that Haku's already been discarded once.
He is likely to discard the one in his hand, so
Yeah,
it'll come
Pio's
out
hand.
eventually.
Yeah, Pio's hand is so interesting. It's got the East pair, and it's got like the Pinzu stuff going on, but then it's like got these like floating garbage tiles that like kind of want to be a Honitsu, but like he's already like kind of decided that it's not a Honitsu. Oh, but now the East Anko, interesting. That'll be a pawn from Andreas, I'm sure. Yep. And then it's a pawn from Pio. Oh no, it's a chi from Pio on the 6 pin. All of a sudden, Pio's Ishanten. It's just East, but you know when you're Pio here, you don't really care too much about value. You already got all the value you needed on one like 28,000 point hand.
Yeah, it's all in your pockets already.
Yeah, think about how ridiculous that is. By the way, Pio won 28,000 points in one hand with the dealer Baimon plus the Ricci stick that he picked up from Calvin. And it's like it wasn't even like a Sound Baimon or a Yakuman or anything. It was just a normal Baimon. I love Big Home though. I hate playing it. I
But
hate
it's
playing it,
interesting
but
to
it's
watch.
it's very funny. Calvin actually has now progressed to a really nice looking Ishanten. It has to connect to either the Formon or the Forso, and can just get a really nice like Ricci Naka. Which as dealer here is like more than enough points. Andreas Palms is now Ishanten himself, just for Haku. Just to try to like get anything really. And can also get the 6 Mondora into his hand. Ooh, I'm not sure what this is about, pushing out the Forso there. Maybe Calvin feeling like that Forso is going to be dangerous.
Yeah, and wanting the 9, so as a safe tile for later
Ooh,
on,
Convert
potentially.
went out. Convert just went and drew his Green Dragon triplet. So now sitting at Ishanten himself with the ability to pawn on the Dora. Oh, that's going to be Tenpai though for Calvin. Yeah, Ricci Dora 1 is like, especially when you've got a two-sided weight, very easy to just slam the button here as dealer. We'll see how Honver can react to this, because Honver, well, the 7 is a safe tile, so he doesn't have to think too hard. But like, this is a very like fightable Ishanten. And Andreas is able to chi that 7 and then discard the safe 4 so is also Tenpai. And Pio has drawn the red 5 which is probably not a tile he's willing to play. So if he does get Tenpai, we'll probably see him Tanki on it. So we have 3 6-mon versus 2 5-mon here between Andreas and Calvin. Andreas does not like the look of that 6-pin. Decides to go ahead and fold, or not fold necessarily, but Mawashi. Pio draws the 4th East. We're not going to see another con into chase from him. He already got all the value he needed out of that, so he just plays it out as a safe tile since he sees all 4 of them. He can only deal into Kokushi. Yeah, and it looks like Pio is just going to fold out. Does not feel the need to fight for this hand. Ooh, Calvin maybe misreading the hand. Maybe if someone was paying close attention to the hesitation there, may read that his weight is in Manzu. Just drew the 1 mod and like hesitated like he was going to sumo. And then decided to discard it. Maybe like the kind of push, I guess, that Andreas needs to push one of those 6s that's currently sitting in his hand. If he can get back to Tenpai. You have to be very careful about like knowing exactly what your weight is, so that you don't accidentally give away information by like looking too long at a tile. But I mean, and like anything, you can also just like fake that because watch on funny.
Yeah. Ends up discarding the 6-0 for Andres,
Yeah.
which
Well, I
seems
mean,
kind of safe because
yeah, I
of
think
the
he
tiles cut.
maybe, I think he may be clinging on to that read that it's in Manzu because he doesn't really have a choice, and the 6-pin just became Genbutsu. But I think most of it is probably just like, I don't want to cut tiles near Fedora. That seems like not a great idea. Speaking of tiles near Fedora, Honver is now cheating to Tenpai. What's he going to play, 8-mon or 9-mon? You got to think about it here for a bit. Can get Tenpai safely with either. This is definitely a tough choice. Oh, decides to fold out with a Hatsu instead. Huh. Maybe had second thoughts after the Chi. Andreas pushes out that safe 6-pin. Still has not found his way back to Tenpai. Kyo's running out of Easts. He's only got 1 left, so has to find a new safe tile. Oh, and there's the 8-mon passing. So Honver knows that now he can push it. But he can save that information for later or just decide to hold on to the safe south. Because the Hatsu may be a tile that gets cut and he can pull him back to Tenpai.
There's the last ace from Pio.
Yep. There's another 6-pin. 3-pin, Suji. Yeah, okay, there's going to be the 8-mon, but I think we might actually see this 3-pin get pushed from Honver if he can get this Hatsu back. Oh, Tempai for Andreas, but like it's brutally difficult to discard either 4 or 5-mon. So decides not to do it, just pushes out the 8. So Pio draws the Dora. Obviously not a tile he can cut. Goes out and plays the 9-mon. So Honver now sees that either tile he would have had to push would have been safe. Suji 9-pin, but it is live. It's a little bit suspicious this late. Yeah. Andreas still has not been able to find his way back to Tempai. Pio gets the Hatsu. Honver can no longer palm that.
And everyone just deciding to kind of pulled out from here.
Yeah. This has been twice now, but Calvin's taken like a relatively straightforward Ricci and just gotten 3 folds, which like honestly like not a bad result. You get to 4,000 or you get plus 2,000 points because you lose the Ricci stake, but you get plus 3,000. But like it's a 3,000 point swing on everyone, and you can always be the one that gets your stake back the next hand. Oh, that's Tempai for Andreas again. Yeah, decides no, I'm gonna play Suji. It's like it's just the choice between 4-mon and 5-mon is literally just like gun to my head. Like how do you even make that choice? Oh,
Yeah,
but
thinking about the 3.
yeah,
Just
Pio was thinking about calling it Tempai there, but 7-mon was just a push too hard for him. Same with the 6-mon. Even though 6-mon was Nakasuji, it was also the Dora. And Pio checks his hand. It's like, damn, I could have pushed. Well, that is another repeat. I think we may have jinxed ourselves in the in between because there's been a lot more hands going to exhaust and a lot more repeats in this game.
yeah. But looking at what Calvin has so far, that's a lot of Manzu, and it's a bit connected on the 1-2-3, but the 7-9 mon kind of disconnected.
Yeah,
It's kind of in between hand, I'd say.
yeah. Remind me, how many home are we at? Is that just one again?
Yeah, we're just that one again.
Okay, so it's East 3-1 now. To our right, Humber's got a pretty quick looking hand. Actually, already Ishanten can get the absolute dream draw here if your Humber is just 4-pin, and then you can turn 2 Ricci on East and 1-pin. That also helps. Yeah, Humber has a very wide Ishanten here, with very likely to have a pretty strong weight at the end of it as well. Especially when you add the Humba in. Oh, will this be a pawn? It will be a pawn. So Humber will be Tempai. We'll see what he decides to wait on. I would imagine. Oh, he could also go for Honitsu. Try to greed the hand. Is going to decide to take the Tempai, though. Wants to wait on the 5-pin and the 1-pin. I believe he discarded that 4-pin. One, to give himself chances to con the 3-pin.
Oh, and it's going to come out of Andres' hand?
Yeah. And Andreas is like, really? I hate this game. Because Andreas was actually also like looking at a pretty nice hand. Just looking at what he left up there. But yeah, it's like, East only, very quick. Oh, actually, was that misscored? That was misscored. That should have been 1 in 40. Because it was the 1-pin. The East pawn was worth 4. The 3-pin Anka was worth 4, and the 1-pin wrong was worth 4. And I believe that was only paid out to 2,500. Correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it was paid out to 2,500.
It's the little things. It's only 300 more points, but like it's the little things in life.
Denver with a very slow-looking starting hand.
Yeah, the dragon pair is like really the only thing that's even got close to going for it. Andreas's hand, on the other hand, looks like it's got some fight in it. The West being the Dora means it's like pretty hard for anyone to get it, but if anyone can like fill in like a red 5 or 2, they're like pretty happy. Like so for like a hand with a useless Dora, and especially now drawing that red 5-mon, I really like Andreas's like chances here to at least get something back and maybe like turn this game around for himself. Pio's got 3 pairs and like some stuff going on in Sozu. So it's not great.
Yeah. And
Calvin's hand also looks. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, Calvin's hand looks actually decent compared to the other ones.
Yeah, I think
Has
I like Calvin's hand the most here. I think just because like really all he needs to do is find like one of those. Like if he can find a 3-pin or a 3-so. Yeah, the free like filling in a 3-pin or 3-so here is really gonna be like the key tile here for Calvin.
yeah.
Just draw threes, and then pray it's not a 3-mob.
What does Honver need? Honver needs just a red for things to start get going, I guess. Um, Theo drawing a 6-pin, maybe considering. Nope, there's a back. Doesn't like the wider weight potential.
Gotcha. Sorry, my bad. I missed a couple things.
No worries.
Oh.
Andra's having a think about this 5-mon, throws back the 1-pin.
Yeah, I think looking to just kind of move this towards a potential Tanya.
Yeah.
No Hombo involved now, but skipping Homer's deal would be quite good for him. Just the overall standings of his game. To move into South with not in a very happy situation, but certainly not like as bad as it could have been with how like messed up things have been so far. But like he's got 4 pairs. He's got Tanya looking pretty good. Let's kind of see what happens with that hand. But everyone's kind of looking quite slow. No one really has been able to find anything worth playing for at all. Where are the West Dora, by the way? Have they been discarded?
Uh,
It
One
looks like
has,
I think
two
two
have,
of
two
them.
have,
Yeah,
yeah.
two of them have. So it's like, yeah, you can't even like dream of like getting like a Dora pair or something really to get value out of any of these hands. It's just gonna be one of those hands where like someone's eventually gonna get Tempai, but it's gonna take a while for everyone. And
Pia has
then
drawn himself into another pair, so potentially Chitoe?
yeah, everything just feels so slow. Honver is starting to make some progress as well, but doesn't really have like a good like none of his shapes really like pawning the Chun. Like the 6, 7, 7, 8, 8 pin's like fine with it, but it's not like great. Oh, that's a fantastic draw for Calvin. Okay, that might be the spark this hand kind of needed. And Tiki Shanten here. Yeah, take is he Shanten, but it's like a very awkward Shanten.
Yeah.
Um needs 3-so, 6-so, 8-so, and 9-pin. The 9-pin is one cut. Yeah. Honver's hand actually is all of a sudden kind of turned itself around. It's now Ishanten as well. It would be Richi Nomi, no Pinfu because of the Chun pair, but the potential for Ipeiko is there. 9-pin looking to be a key tile as well. Oh, Calvin can actually go for a straight now if he wants to. Yeah, decides not to. I think I kind of would have liked to see the 5-so come out there. 'Cause you don't you or maybe the 8-so.
Yeah, I kind of like getting rid of the 8, so personally. Uh,
Because you gain like a lot of like potential value upgrades by having the E2, but you don't like I think the only like tile acceptance that you lose is like 6-so. And you gain the 9-so back anyway. So it's like kind of an even trade. Andreas, by the way, has drawn his way not quite into a Shanten, but a nice looking like potential like Tanyao. Fremont Anko very nicely kind of working its way into that hand. Ooh. Pio's hand is kind of like sitting there. I think Pio's just kind of like folding. Also doesn't really see much on the table that merits him like being careful. And Honver still just trying to find this Tempai. That is Tempai. That is gonna be Tempai for Honver. Wait. Yeah, okay. I was like, wait a second.
yep.
Where's the Ricci tile? I was like, oh, I just didn't see the chicken on the end. Alright, so just Ricci Nomi, but has the potential for 6-pin high out. Um checking around the table, I immediately see we see 3 of the 9-pin. One discarded and 2 in Calvin's hand. And then we see 1 6-pin in Homer's hand, 1 6-pin in discards, and 1 6-pin in Andreas' hand. And Andreas has actually found his way into an Icy Shanten as well that could fight Homer, and he very much would like to fight Homer here, given that they are the closest in score of anyone. Calvin has a tough choice to make here. Can choose wrong. Does not choose wrong, but can. Alright, Noe Patsumo for Homer. That's a PO only thing at this table, apparently. And Andreas goes and draws the Dora. But, like, I can't imagine he's that worried about the Dora. There's the last 9-pin going in a PO's hand. Calvin continues to draw these tiles that are just really... the 8-mon is safe, but Calvin does not have any safe tiles actually in his hand, and Humber's not doing him any favors with his draws and discards. Tenpai for Andreas. I mean, surely. This would be Hellweight Dora. No, it's Genbutsu. I think he's just deciding whether or not he wants to Dama or Open Richi. Yeah, they're okay. This is going to be the Open Chase. Right. So Open Richi, Tanyo, Dora 1. This would be a Mangan if it hits. 5-so is... We see 3 of the 5-so on the right camera and 2 of the 8-so. PO has none of them. Are there any discarded? I don't know.
I don't see any.
Yeah. So I think the weights are of like similar quality between the 6-9 pin and the 5-8-so. I mean, this is definitely going to be whichever player wins this is going to be a pretty big swing in the fight to avoid last place in this game. It could also just go to exhaust. We are very late in the wall. Like we kind of mentioned as these hands were building, like all these hands were very slow. But people did eventually find the value. Andreas just barely missing with that 4-so. PO thinking about pawning this here. I wonder why. Maybe to shift the draw order. Well, no, it decides to just hold on to the safe tiles instead. Does not look like that pawn would have given Honor a dealing tile. Oh, but the lack of pawn did. Unfortunate. So that's going to be a Mangan. Any Ura? I don't believe so.
No Ura.
Yeah. I saw the Monzu for I was like, no way that was a 2-mon, right?
That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we have seen some ridiculous things
Yeah,
today, so
it's already been ridiculous enough. Though really only in favor of PO. But anyway, that's going to be a brutal blow for Honver and the Yakumen, who find themselves staring down the barrel of losing all the points they got last game and then some. As we go into the South round, with PO sitting in a comfy first and Andreas and Calvin now in a pretty tight fight for second. Give me for a second here. I do have to step out for a second. I'm unfortunately being bugged by work, as always. Sorry about that.
Meanwhile, Pia's hand is not looking very put together. Has 2 pairs of 5-pin, 3 pairs, 5-pin pair, a 5-mon pair, and a 2-so pair. Meanwhile, Calvin just drew a 3rd 1-so, but the rest of the hand kind of looks lacking. Has a pair of Easts and a pair of 4-pins. Onver's hand has a very strong 5, 6, 7, 8-pin shape, and a 3, 4, 5 red 5 Manzu shape. Potentially going for a Pinzu straight maybe later on. We'll see. As Calvin calls pawn on the east wind. Meanwhile, Pio getting an upgrade with a 3-mon, discarding an 8-so. And kind of, well, looks like Honver drew a 1-pin and decided to keep away from the potential straight. Pio pawns the 2-sos. Moving, I believe, to Ryan Shantan.
Alrighty, sorry about that.
Welcome back.
I see an East Palm and a potential Toy or Children for Calvin.
Yeah, there's an East pawn out of Honver and a Tuso pawn from Pio.
Or sorry, it looks like the East pawn is Calvin, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's Calvin.
Oh, okay. Oh, it came from Humber. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Calvin does have the 3-door also, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, that does seem pretty good, huh?
It's alright.
Yeah,
I might
makes
take it.
sense. Makes sense to pawn the East then in the South round when you have 3 Dora and a way to use them in a Yaku. Where are those tunes then? Are they all on the wall?
I think they're all still on the wall.
That is going to be
Uh,
very important for Calvin, though. I think everyone should probably be a little bit wary about that tile, given that. But then again, they can't know that Calvin has 3 Dora. Looks like Andreas is going to find dealer Tempai here. It's going to be. Wait, is that no Tenrichi? Oh no! There's the the way he has his tiles sorted just made me lose my mind for a second. It's just Ricci Nomi waiting on the 5 mon. We'll see if he can pull in the red 5. Actually, Honver has the red 5, so I doubt he'll be pulling in the red 5.
uh, Theo has made 2 calls and kind of has an interesting hand if you want to take a look at it.
Oh yeah, of course. It looks like he's got Tanyao Aka 2 or Tanyao Dora 1 at the moment. But has pretty reasonable like shapes to be able to continue calling and fight Andreas. Importantly, he's using 2 of Andreas's winning tiles. Farmer is also sitting there in a pretty nice looking Ishanten. Just needs to, if he can find it in him, to push that 8 mon, which definitely does not look safe by any means, but he also, I mean, obviously would need to find Tempai first. And Calvin's still just kind of pushing everything, needs to find any anyway. Oh, Pio does find Tempai and finds the Tempai that lets him hold on to both of the 5 mons. So it's gonna be 4 pin for Pio versus 5 mon for Andreas. And I believe there's one 5 mon left for Andreas to get, and one 4 pin left for Pio to get.
I believe so.
Yeah, the thing is, Calvin's never gonna let go of his 4 pin because it's his pair, like it's his pair for after he pulls the Chun. This is gonna be Tempai for Humber if he wants to take it. Has to push the 8 mon into a dealer Ricci, but is already in a bad situation. Thinking about it, Ricci, we're gonna see the open. It is a 3-6 mon wait. That he just put in 2 critical 6.
It's okay. Andres to the rescue.
Yeah. Andres to the rescue and then does not deal any Batsu. Good karma. Missed by 1 tile because he was nice and switched the switched the sticks. But that 7 mon does create 3 save tiles for Pio, who probably saw that Ricci and was like, oh shit. Oh, this is a very unfortunate situation for Calvin, who, if he wants to continue pushing his hand, is going to have to deal into Humber. None of these Monzu look remotely safe, but a Patsu would be a really bad beat here. Alright. Finds the 5 pin as the safer tile. Avoids the initial deal, and we'll see if maybe he can get saved by maybe like a sumo or one of the Richi's dealing into each other. 2 pin surely just comes right back out. It's Suji. But if that Chun ever gets dropped, then I think we're going right into we're going right into the Calvin dealing into Humber.
Yeah. Jose is 6-0.
Yeah, pushes out the 6-0. Just continuing to push. 6 pin now. That's a 1 mon. I love Tenpai fights. They're so fun. Pio actually deciding whether or not he can push this 8-so. He might see something in the. Nah, decides to just continue playing a safe 7 mon because he did find Yaku's Tenpai. Oh wow, a 6 mon draw. Calvin can save himself by playing 4 pin now, and still keep fighting this hand.
But will he find it? That's the
Yeah.
question.
This is the beauty of like saving yourself turns. No, unfortunate. Would have liked to see the 4 pin there. I think it's not good. It's just like it's safer to the dealer Ricci for sure because 1 pin and 7 pin are fast. Uh, But I think it's just pins. The pins look just a lot cheaper on the board. I think, though, in Honver's case, it very easily could have dealt into a 4-7 pin weight as well. That just happened to be a shape that formed for him.
All right, moving into South 2
Yep.
with Pio as our new dealer.
Yeah. Honver notably, by the way, did not hit Ura there. So just Ricci Tanya or just Ricci Dora won, but stopping Andreas from opening up more points on him, I think, is pretty good, and taking points directly from Calvin. So all of a sudden, second place is pretty wide open. Sorry, but yeah, Pio's deal.
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, I agree. It's great for Honver, but we want other players at the table to have fun and maybe take some points away from Pio. That would be
Calvin's in
nice for
second,
all of
all
us.
right? Calvin's in second. He's having fun. He has a Dora pair.
He has a door pair and a nice Pinzu shape. What does Honver have? Honver has a pair of East. That
Yeah, Honver
theme.
has 4 pairs actually, but also could look at for like a Nipeko, something like that, and like the Pinzu. This is
Yeah,
one of those that's like you see Cheetoy, but it's also like this could very easily be a normal hand.
yeah. I love Ipeko.
Yeah, big fan. I think like Ipeko is one of those things where it's just like it looks so pretty, and then you realize like, oh, like I'm committing 6 tiles and I get 1 Han out of it. So it's very sad to realize. But then again, I guess most 2 Han Yaku are 9 tiles. I
But
still
it's so
maintain
pretty.
I still maintain that Rion Peko should be openable.
It's an interesting idea.
Give me like open Rion Peko for like 1 or 2 Han. I think it's very reasonable. Especially because if you're opening it, it's probably going to end up being quite obvious.
Calvin moves to Shantan,
Uh,
drawing
looks like
that up.
looks like Ishan 10.
Oh yes, yes.
Looking, yeah, because looking the dream for Calvin is just palm the Chun and beat Tenpai. Obviously the Chun is a little bit tough to get people to discard when it's the Dora. Andreas, by the way, also has, I believe, an Ishanten hand. Yeah, looks like it is Ishanten, though it's a little bit more awkward than you want it to be. If you can fill in the ASO, he'll be quite happy. Pio's hand, though, is dealer looking very, very Manzu heavy. It looks like he's playing it that way. Yeah, okay. He's just gonna keep sending every single Manzu. So that may actually end up hurting Calvin. Oh, and Calvin ends up playing the 2-mon, really hard committing to getting this Dora here. But like reaching Dora 2 is really not that bad of a result. The 8-so doesn't do anything in the hand.
I mean, the
Losing.
5-so is an upgrade for the.
Yeah, yeah. But you definitely want to cut the 8-so there instead of the 2-mon. Because like if you draw the 1-4, you still get Richie Dora 2. It's still 5,200 points. It's not like bad.
Now we got the 8-so.
Yeah.
A little bit late, but better late than
Yeah.
never.
Yeah. Humber's still sitting with his 4 pairs. Look like he's about to cut one though. Oh no, just throwing out the 7-so, keeping an eye on that son or on the potential Chitoy, but doesn't have to be. And has drawn a lot of like good floating tiles to try to make this into a normal hand with a potential for 2-3-4 Sanchoku as well. Pio is what is Pio? Pio is Chitoy Tenpai. Like what is Pio? Oh, Pio's Tenpai. That's what he is. I'm a little bit
Uh,
surprised to see Pio. I guess it's because the East is live and he's the dealer. That's probably why he's not reaching on this. I think I would have liked to see him just slam jam Arichi on the 1-so. Like it's Suji to him. So like, and it's 1 cut on the board. So it's like I think something that's really likely to get dealt into. Oh, Dama Tenpai here for Calvin draws the door himself. Honor avoiding going for Tanyao, holding onto those East that would deal into Chitoy. Which honestly, like, I think Calvin would be more mad about that than Honver. So we've got East weight versus 4-7-so weight. We'll see what happens. Because Pio cannot accept 4-7-so into his Chitoy before he 10 on both. So we might actually see points get taken from Pio if he draws them. Andreas has 3 of them. That 7-so is also sitting very loose in his hand.
yeah, it might just come out from Andres here. Nope.
Yeah, continuing to draw relatively useless tiles to him. Pio deciding to just Pio's going for Menholm Chitoy. I see. That's why he went for the East. Because he's just even greedier than Yo. Come on, man. I see. So instead of Chitoy Tenpai, he wants closed Honitsu Chitoy. Calvin's sitting there with Mangan Tenpai, hopefully able to punish Pio for his insolence. That is Tenpai for Honver, but it won't be Yaku, so it has to play out the East, which now does not deal in because Pio decided to greed. So that gives Calvin a little bit more life here. At this point, I think he's Tenpai. Oh my god, he's gonna catch the second East from Honver. Oh my god. You have got to be kidding me. Like, this is not real. I hate this game, man.
Do you hate this game or do you just hate Pio?
No, I hate Mahjong for letting Pio do this.
This is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, so Menholm Chitoy, it should be only 12k, correct? Yes, it's only a Mangan. Honestly, I think Pio might have gotten the deal in from Honver, even if he had reached that. But, like, you don't really have to. Well, another Honba. Now Honver finds himself on the wrong side of 0 points. But to really no fault of his own. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, all Honver's really done wrong here is just gotten the wrong end of him. Dealt into a ridiculous hand and gotten the wrong end of a Ricci fight that Andreas got to chase him on. And, paid out 9,000 points to a Baimon Sumo.
Fortunately for everyone at the table, though, it looks like Pio's hand is a little bit slow starting off.
Yeah, definitely not. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think I saw men closed Honitsu Chitoy for Pio last hand. So who knows where this can go.
Yeah, that was not on my bingo sheet.
Yeah. It'll be on someone else to just move fast here. I think Calvin's got a pretty decent chance here. I think if you're Calvin there, you're like, okay, well, at least I didn't deal into that, but damn, I really would have liked to win my Dama Mangan.
Yeah, Calvin with the potential for double south.
Double
do
south
some
on the
damage.
floating Dora, I think, is quite a good here for Calvin. Because that's the double south and then add the Dora. Get up to 39, add the Hombo, get up to 54. Be quite nice. Holmberg has a pretty nice looking hand to get back any of these points. Has 2 red 5s, potential for 3, 4, 5, or 4, 5, 6 Sankoku. Has chances for Itsu and Manzu, but would need to find another pair. It's very lots of potential there for Honver. Just needs to find a couple good draws. 4-pin's not a bad one. 4-pin leans more towards that potential Itsu. And then Andreas's hand is already Ishantan? No, not quite. Not quite Ishantan, but Andreas also looking at a potential Itsu. This time it's Sozu though. And has 1 Dora, but none of the Aka. All the Aka are in hand already. Which is somewhat rare. We do see Calvin has now cut that Dora, but it's just because he progressed his hand. Would like to pull in the south. What is Pio calling? Pio's calling for Tanya Dora 1, or sorry, Tanya Dora 2, it looks like. With that 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 5, 7, so. Calvin here, I think, losing a little bit of acceptance by playing that 1 mon, but maybe trying to dream of the Pinzu Itsu. Lots of straights on this board. And Honver just has not been able to draw progress. Alright, Andreas gives up on his straight in favor of getting Tanya more consistently, which I think is a better consistent value. You need a lot of very specific draws to get a full straight. 6-0. We're gonna see Honver Chi that? No. Decides he needs as many points as possible. Plus he doesn't really have a Yaku guarantee. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially in the south round.
Yeah.
Not too many more draws left or hands left.
Yeah. You want to pull as many points as possible in there. Does Pio have that was a 2-3-4 chi that he made, right? Okay. Yeah, so going for the red 5 instead of the Sanchoku because it's the same value, but there's no potential backfire on the one. That is gonna be Ishanten for yeah, it's gonna be Ishanten for Andreas, but it's gonna be a tile that gives Pio Tempai. Waiting on just the 6-0, which Andreas just drew into his hand. I believe everyone but Calvin can safely use the 6-0, and Calvin has already discarded one. Now Calvin finds himself in a pretty decent Ishanten, but can't palm the South to Tempai, which is quite annoying for him.
Yeah.
Onver with a somewhat awkward shape here holds onto the 4-4-5-5 pin, but looking at a potential straight in Monzu, but also like leaving Ipeko alive, and also just like trying to hedge around drawing the red 5 pin. Actually, no, Pio just cheated that, so we should know it's not possible. Ooh, Sebamon is interesting here if you're Calvin. It's at least you can just decide like, all right, do I want 2-5 or do I want 5-8? And also, which tiles do I feel safer about pushing into PO? The 4-mon was the last tile to come out of PO's hand after the call, so the 3-mon specifically might look dangerous. But so Calvin's going to go ahead and play the 3-mon first. 3-pin gets drawn into Humber's hand, so now 3-4-5 Sanchoku might be happening.
Also possible 3-4-5 Ipeko.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he did play the 8-mon out, so he's still not Ishanten. Needs to find his pair back. I was hoping for the 4 or the 5 pin to be his pair, but he can still make that happen by drawing 4 pin, 2, 4, or 5 pin. Not gonna cheat that. Yeah. Oh, and that does work for forming a pair. No more Sanchoku, but still Tanya Dora 2, Tanpin Dora 2 with potentially Peiko. Definitely could be the hand that Homer is looking for to get him back into fighting shape. He still just sitting there. Tempai for 56 or 5,800 points plus home buff. 6-0 nowhere to be seen. We see one in Andreas' hand and one in the discard, so still 2. Honor can chi this. Yeah, gonna go ahead and take it. Decides that he can't wait any longer. It's entering into the 3rd row. And he's watching the 3s and 6s die very quickly around him, while also knowing that the dealer is probably Tempai. Oh, and he would have drawn the 3-pin! Oh, that's so brutal. Oh, 5-so. Well, that's not a tile that you really want to push, but if 6 have a Sanchoku out on the 3-so, I like that. I like the extra risk here for that, because it's the difference between this hand being 3,900 points and the difference in it being a Mangan if he can get the 3-so win. Unfortunately, Pio's using all of those, but you know.
He's using all of those, and Andres has one in hand, and
Yeah.
which he's using.
Yeah, speaking of which, Andreas has just been drawing and discarding forever because, like, he has just not been able to find Tempai, which is quite unfortunate for him because he would get Tempai on 3-so, 6-so, and 9-so, as well as 8-so, 6-pin, and 5-8-mon. Just has not been able to find it. Does find a 6-mon now, makes that shape a little bit better.
It's kind of looking like this one's gonna go to exhaust.
Yeah, so this is one of those situations. Oh, that's Tempai for Andreas now. Would be a 3-6-9 so wait for Ricci Pin Foodora 1 with potential for Tanya. Yeah, gonna go ahead and take it. The big thing here is like if you're PO, like before that Ricci, like it's one of those things where like you're winning by so much that maybe you actually just want to like break your tempai at the end and pass your deal. But the thing is, PO's team is down by so many points that I think he just has to like try to keep striking while the iron's hot and get as much as he can. Like he's still fighting this Ricci. 6-0 would also be a triple run right now if Calvin decided to cut it. I don't know if triple run is an abort or not, but it'd be funny. It'd be tragic for Calvin, but it'd be
I'm
funny.
pretty sure it's not an import.
Yeah, I think it should. I really think it shouldn't be. If you deal into a triple run, like that's on you, man. Oh, Pio has drawn. I believe this is the Haite, and Pio has drawn the dealing tile and pushes it. Oof. Well, that is a lot of points for Pio to pay out. Ricci pin for Dora 1 Haite. And it looks like there was Uradora as well. Oh, the 6-0 was the Ura indicator. So that's going to be 9,500 points paid out from Pio. Honestly, with he had absolutely no safety, so like I guess might as well hold Tempai and 9-so is like the furthest outside. It's the only thing you can really do there. This other than that is play like 2-so Dora because you have all the 3-so. Even then, you don't have all of them.
This does bring Calvin and Andres closer, I guess, to PO somewhat. So might make for a interesting hand. But looking at Calvin's starting hand, has three pairs, and two of which are Dora. So might want to make that a quick hand. Hunver has a pair of Souths and for double Souths, a pair of 8-so and a pair of 2-mon. So I want a pair of six mon.
Yep. And we do see Homer actually going ahead and calling that south pair. So looking like this might be just like a pretty pawn heavy hand. Lots of pairs kind of sitting around the table. I guess not that many on the left camera, but a lot of pairs on the right camera. That the additional Dora there is gonna be a pretty big for Homer as well. It's like anything you can get here, but Homer definitely looking to try to get like South Toy Dora or something, or like Dora 3 would be the absolute dream for this. Get a Hanuman out of this hand. But I mean, it's the little things in life. Getting back above 0 can also be a goal. It's another pair drawn in for Calvin. Dealer, oh, and especially with the Dora pair, this could be a
Yeah.
very explosive Cheetoy. Sorry, my brain like completely lagged. Also, Pio's Shantan actually. Pio just declined Tenpai because the weight was bad. And it would have been Richi Nomi. Pio's definitely looking to just find like Richi Pinfu right now and just Dama and move this game to east to south 4. This PO is like, oh, I just paid 9,500 points. I don't really like that. Let's stop giving myself the chance to do that more. This is a pretty good draw for PO, all things considered. Like when you're like Ishanten, the draws you're really looking for, if the ones that don't give you Tenpai, are just like ones that give you better floating tiles, so you have better chances of getting Tenpai.
Speaking of Tenpai, Hanver is now in Tenpai after putting the 2 pins,
Yep,
waiting on the
South.
6-mon 8-so.
Yep. We'll see whether or not he's willing to take that, because 2,000 points doesn't do a whole lot for him here, but at the same time, it does let him skip the deal of the player who's in third place. So it's like, it's something. And then Andreas's hand just does not really have, like, not really sparking much joy. He does have a west pair that he can palm, but it feels like it's just going to be too slow. Ooh, okay. I like this play here from Calvin. Maybe you cut the 7-so first, just in case you keep getting pairs. But he's gonna try to make this into a Tanyo, and just play it as a normal hand. He's still just trying to find anything that would actually give him Tenpai. Any connector to the 7-so or the 3-so. Preferably not the 1-so, and preferably not the 8-so, because the 8-so is furry 10. Ooh, that's a really nice draw for Calvin's Tanya as well. The problem is that he needs to find the 4-mon twice. And Andreas has 2 of those, so it's very difficult for that to happen. Especially because one's been discarded. Oh, okay. That's also a way this can go. So now just needs to find honestly, if you're Calvin here, you're happy with any Tenpai. Like you would like to draw the 4-mon so you can Dama and get Pinfu, but like you have Dora 3. Just being Tenpai is good enough. And hopefully like you just reach and hope that you win if you get the 4-mon weight. Andreas does palm the west. That is gonna be Ishanten for him. Just gonna be west with a potential Dora 1. Humber's still just chilling. Has not gotten Tenpai, or sorry, has not gotten a winning tile to come out. Probably at this point, I don't think he has the ability to. Never mind. There is the realm. It's gonna be 2K from Andreas. Honestly, I think like everyone at the table is pretty okay with that. Not a huge swing of points. Or wait, did I miscount something? Wait, was that 3,900? Oh, Humber's double
Oh,
south. Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, wait a second. Okay. My bad. I completely forgot seed order was a thing. That makes a lot more sense than for Humber to play for that. 3,900 points puts him in range where it's like if he sumos a dealer Mongon here, then like, all of a sudden it's a really close game again. Of course, sumoing a dealer Mongon isn't really something that you can just like do with the drop of a hat, but it happens. It happens fairly frequently. Oh, what a fantastic first draw, filling that 7-pin. This could be the hand for Humber, especially if he can get it closed. If I quickly take stock, it looks like no one has those souths that he'd be looking to call. So this could be a hand that actually forms close for Humber. Ricci South, Dora 1 would be a. Oh, and yeah, now in probably the best Ishansen he could have asked for. Definitely the exactly what the doctor ordered to try to get you as much value as possible out of this South 4 dealership if you're Humber. And does
yeah,
anyone have a hand that could really like potentially shut this down? Andreas looks pretty fast.
yeah.
Andreas is fine with going fast because he just wants to secure second.
Especially with Calvin being so close behind.
Yeah,
Just make it as fast as possible.
yeah. The difference between 3,900 there and 2,000 is actually a pretty significant difference. So good thing I wasn't the one scoring that hand. Calvin really just needs 3 Han and 30 Fu at this point. So would just be looking for like Ricci Pin Fudora, anything like that. The problem is that like with the Dora being the Chun, it's hard to incorporate into the hand unless you get multiple.
Andres Ricci's with the double-headed weight of the 1-pin 8-mon.
Yeah, looking to just get out of this game with his first or with his second place. And for lack of like any safety here, Calvin might actually just play this 1-pin. I think yeah, Naimon makes the most sense because like, you're at least still playing the hand that way. Humber just needs to draw Tenpai and chase this down. It's 1-pin 8-mon. Of those tiles we see, oh, Pio draws the 1-pin. So the 1-pin are both held now, and Pio has both 8-mon as well. So if Andreas is going to win this, it's going to have to be a deal-in. That 1-pin is pretty useless in Pio's hand, though, but Pio's also going to be playing his best defense, so we'll see what happens. Uh, That's really unfortunate for Humber, but everyone else is pretty okay with that. Unless that was a 9-pin that just flipped up. No, that was a 4-pin. Okay. I was like, there's no way that our indicator was a 9-pin, right?
Oh, it would have been kind of crazy. But we have seen crazy things happen today, so
Yeah,
nothing's beyond reach.
yeah. That was quite the unfortunate game for Humber, but the big win tonight was absolutely Pio. That was absolutely massive to get that Ipatsumo Baimon in the second game after like playing a pretty clean first game. Like he didn't get like too many ridiculous things.
Yeah, and the Emperor that helps the Emperor Penguins a lot. Uh, Being at the bottom half of the table and all.
Oh yeah, that is.
Getting double first, right?
Yeah. Let me do I still have that available somewhere? No. Well, I'll find it, but I believe that is good enough to get the Emperor Penguins back up into the positives.
It
And
does. It
at
puts
the
them in
expense,
fourth place now
yeah,
after the updates.
and that's going to be at the expense of the Yakumen as well. So this game between places, this was now a game between places 2, 3, 4, and 5, and all of a sudden, like you get another session or two like that, and maybe the Emperor Penguins could be an outside dark horse to hunt down the Triad. Definitely the Triad. Honestly, probably looking on at this game, very happy with how the scoring went. Like the team that was furthest away from them got the most points, and the other teams kind of just like chilled. So all things considered, I think the Yakuman and the Triad probably the big winners tonight,
Yeah,
and the Peregrine FalKANs did get the better end of that. The Brooklyn Sours did take the worst of that because of the unfortunate game one. But at the same time, both teams are still far and away ahead of still over 100 points ahead of the Emperor Penguins. But the Mahjong Triad just saw their point lead increase even more, and now there's really only and time's running out for anyone to catch up with them.
But I believe that's all we have for you today. I'm not sure who our matchup is next week, but I believe it's the teams who did not play this week. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to add on?
Honestly, just like a lot of fun watching tonight. Always appreciative of everything that New York City does and letting me in to cast it. So thank you very much for having me and for working with me. I believe this is our second time commentating together, Wes. Out of two commentary appearances for me. So thank you for working with me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm always happy to have you as a co-commentator.
Yeah,
But yeah, from us in the booth, I'm Wes.
I'm Max.